Yeah, good evening, everybody. Welcome all hitchhikers on the Advance UK train. Um, you're joining us for another kind of ride through the galaxy of ideas, opinions, and chat as we try to get this spaceship off the ground. I've got my two co-hosts with me today, Zoe from the Advance UK Supporters Group and Pete Way as well. Zoe, Pete, if you want to come up and say something and just have a little bit of chat as everybody else comes in, you're welcome to come up.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're all right. It's lovely to be here once again for what we hope will be another storming success of great ideas and great conversation.
Evening, everyone. Hope everyone's all right. Hump day. Once we're over this, we're cruising to the weekend.
Yeah, and everybody, please just share it in your feed as well. We want to get as many people in here as possible. We had an amazing, I think we had 500 people last week listening at some point. So we want to try and get the numbers up tonight as well. So we're here for an hour or two, as long as it takes to kind of get through everybody. If you do want to kind of put your hand up and be one of the speakers tonight, get in early, stick your hand up, and we'll sort of bring you up shortly. We'll probably wait for a few more people to get in first before we get going. So yeah, last week, tremendous success. I think the point of this space really is to just kind of fill the gap really at the moment while Advance UK is growing. But we hope to grow this Wednesday weekly space into really the voice of the ordinary member, many who've never been involved in politics before. So we've got a voice in the party and we can come on here, have a little bit of fun, have a bit of chat, exchange ideas. Hopefully we're going to put together a little presentation to the party from some of our ideas and suggestions that we get from these spaces and see how far we can kind of go with them. So that's the whole point of having this little space. It's not really the place to come on and go into any deep policy detail. I do want to reiterate, this is not an official party space. This was our own idea. It wasn't the party's idea. It's our own initiative, myself, Zoe, and Pete's. So we can't really go into detail on policy. And we don't necessarily want to go into all the detail of the dark or horrific things that are happening in this country. It's meant to be a positive space where we come together and we have ideas and we have a little bit of hope about the future. And we just have a chat as well. And as we get better at this, we're probably going to bring in a bit more music. Pete here is a bit of a singer. I'm not sure if you're ever going to want to sing on here, Pete, but we'd love it if you ever felt the
Me too. People are asking, but yeah, it's going to cost.
What is it? Right. Okay. So guys, if anybody who wants to be one of the speakers tonight, again, it's going to be about ideas, ways of thinking. I'm particularly interested in Elon Musk's philosophy, particularly his idea of kind of first principles. I'm always interested in ideas that are kind of out of the box, a bit different, trying to boil a problem down to its component parts and think of potential solutions. And it's worked for me in the past. So that's my little kind of takeaway from today, if anybody out there wants to comment on that. And I think, Zoe, you've got some things that you'd probably like to bring up as well, if I just hand over to you.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah.
And sorry, Zoe, you're an official co-host this week. We finally got it working, right?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, I suppose I've been a bit up and down this week. Particularly on Friday, I felt really flat. I just thought there was just so many issues that just keep coming up and coming round, and it just feels a bit helpless, and sometimes it's just a bit overwhelming. So I kind of took the weekend and thought, right, let's think about this. But I spoke to a couple of people today on another space and sort of said, is there anything that we can be doing? Anybody want to give me any ideas? And I've written a few down that I had already. I know we came up with quite a few last week as well. And I just kind of wanted to reiterate a couple of them. Just anybody that wasn't on the space last week, or anybody who is looking for ideas currently, that they can be active in their own communities. So there was a point raised about, obviously people at home might be housebound, might not be able to do leafleting. So obviously sharing social media is the best thing. If you can share stuff on your timeline on Facebook, anything like that gets seen. So I've been sharing a bit of the digital ID stuff on Facebook, on my own personal profile. Don't want to, really kind of get too deep into the weeds with people, because you do tend to get quite a bit of backlash. But just trying to highlight certain things to everybody that's in your feed, and then thinking about things like email campaigns. I know the GB Pack has got email warriors, so if anybody can join that, they send you an email of a particular topic that comes up probably once a week, so it's not too much time spent. But we could also maybe start posting some ideas. So I know there's a couple of other accounts that I can point people to who do templates, which are really good. But say you've seen something on a TV program that you think, well, that's really not on, then send an email to Ofcom. Actually, do that, because the more that we complain, the more we get heard. Somebody suggested about council meetings last week, and I thought, right, I'll put myself through 2 hours of my local council meeting online, absolutely dull as dishwater. But I did pick up a few things that were happening in my area that I didn't know about, and actually some of it was quite interesting. But there was a lot, that was, could have been skipped over. But we do need as many people on our side of politics to stand up in local elections. Now, obviously, you can't stand for advance at the moment until we're registered. But if you've got local elections coming up next year and you are of that inclination to stand up and want to do something, then potentially that's something you could do. It doesn't cost anything to stand. You can do it alongside a full-time role. So again, it's just having more people visible and saying what we're saying in our side of politics. The other thing that came up was, trying to talk to people. Sometimes it's quite difficult to have all the facts and figures, and I think we talked about a cheat sheet that maybe we'll get to creating that. But if you're talking to people, maybe just talk to the people that trust you currently, so your closest, your nearest and dearest, who know you, who know that you're not going to you're not saying anything that's kind of way out there or whatever, that they actually trust you to tell them the truth. Maybe just start there and then progress from there.
Yeah, Zoe, there was a kind of a concept that came up kind of last week, and I'm not sure who brought it up first, or it's something that just kind of happened. It's this idea that at the moment it's not really about votes. There's not an election happening at the moment.
Yep.
It's not even really about hearts and minds, really. It's just getting out there a little bit, forming connections, doing all the kind of groundwork, really. And I think if we think too much, about reform and what reform are doing, and this policy, that policy, what Ben's policy on immigration is going to be, or whatever, I think we're kind of getting down in the weeds a little bit. I think at the moment it really should be about trying to find the space that we can occupy at the moment, and try and grow into that space, and not focusing on votes necessarily, not focusing on policies. I don't know what the policies of Advance UK are going to be when they come out. I know I'm going to disagree with some of them. I know I'm going to support some of them on which they've gone further. But that is what it's like being in a political movement. It's all about coming together, and you're not getting everything you want. But I do know, from what I can see, Advance is the party of the people, and it's also the party with heart, and a real heart and a soul in the center. And that's, I think, the message that we need to try and get out there somehow.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we know a few stances on things like digital ID. We know what the stance is on freedom of speech. We know a few. They're not policies. We're not expecting detail, but just to know the stance of the party, and that, as I say, that will develop and that will come out, and then at least they'll say, somebody might say to you, well, what's the party's stance on digital ID? You can say, well, yeah, this is the stance on it. So yeah, just a few bits as we as obviously they come up, but yeah, just a few ideas. I mean, there were lots of ideas last week that obviously need a bit of work, and it's going to take longer than a week to be able to come up and actually start implementing some of them, but always good to hear people's thoughts.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to avoid is getting bogged down in membership numbers. I think the Tories at one point had like 30,000 or 40,000 members, and that's when they were quite a successful party. I might be wrong on that. There might be somebody here who can correct me, but it's not so much the membership, although I think I do think we are aiming for a very large membership. It's the people that will turn out and vote for you. And that's a long way away at the moment. So yes, let's build the membership up, but remember that a lot of people maybe support us and may vote for us in the future, but they may not necessarily join the party. So we need to kind of bridge that gap as well. How do you get somebody who supports what you're doing and might vote for you to become a member? So that's something that I think we need a little bit of work on, because a lot of these big parties, other than Labour, in the old days, they didn't have a lot of members. If you looked at the numbers, it was a relatively small kind of membership, but they were very successful politically. So that's an interesting kind of one to square. Okay, Pete, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so one of the things we've got to look at, especially early doors, is effectively Advance is a brand, and it has to be seen as the positive brand. So I think what we can do as individuals that are not, necessarily party connected in the upper echelons is make sure that we're posting positively. We don't want to be seen to be having a go at any other party necessarily. You can criticize constructively or offer comment, or things have gone wrong, that's fine, but we have to be seen as the positive brand, because we are selling ourselves as something that we need people to believe in. So it's going to be vitally important in the early days to get the message out there of positivity, resilience, and the best option for the long-term future. The other thing is, when we're talking about things people can say, what I'm seeing online across all platforms quite heavily at the minute is there's a lot of comments around the World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, Fabians, etc. We can categorically say that publicly, this is the only party to denounce associations or interference from those people. So while Reform obviously have their dealings, this is a scenario where we are going out of that positive light, saying we can stand up and say, no, it's not a thing for the future. It will be a very different and positive future.
Yeah, brilliant. I think one thing we took away from our last space, and also from listening into other spaces and some of Paul Thorpe's sort of talkings, is the desperation, I think, that's out there amongst people about what's happening to the country. And sometimes these chats or these spaces just descend into everybody just telling how awful things are and how awful their life has become or their area has become. And I think we need a bit of positivity. So this space going forward, we really want to focus on solutions. We want to focus on ideas, and we want to focus on hope and positivity. Okay, over to you, Sam.
All right, thanks. Hi, Zoe. We know each other from the other space.
Hi,
I understand completely how you're feeling in terms of like feeling really low, and all of us will get to that point, because I felt it yesterday when I heard about the Chagos deal. I was just like, getting lower, and in fact at work I could hardly work because all I could hear was all the negativity, and it brings you down so much. So I took some time out, and the positive, we're all learning together, and that's the thing about I've learned. Even though I have been posting quite heavily on X, I'm getting quite well known, especially in the Fishing for Leave, where I put something in and I'm trying to sort of educate and say, yes, we're behind you, in positive messaging, and you'll get the Farage cultists come back and attack you. And what I've done is sort of debate with them in a positive way and say, look, we're on the same side. You've got your way, and this is what, and they come back with all the negatives and things like that and say, oh, well, you're splitting the vote, and I'm sick to death of hearing it. But I always say to them, look, we're on the same side. The difference is we're for nation state, and I include Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales, the entirety. And that's the difference. But we're on the same side. And I try to get them to realise, look, don't attack. I'm not going to attack you. Yes, we could attack sort of Farage's policies in terms of what they're doing. But in reality, we are the same side. We're fighting for our country. And that's something that a lot of them then think, you're right. And they get there in the end. But I think he's right in terms of like trying to get away from criticising Reform.
Okay, well, I can fill the gap if you like, briefly.
Yeah, go for it, Pete.
Oh, Sam,
have you
Sam's
got
back.
something for us, Pete? Have you got something for us?
I prepared a special monologue for this week,
Oh,
as
no.
ever.
Okay.
And it's quite a good one with recent conditions and things going on in the world. I thought, let's make it relevant and let's go back to a point that's going on. If Sam is there, she can dip back in and then I can finish after.
Yeah, we can't hear Sam, Pete. Go for it.
Okay, right. So now, in light of one of the recent Yorkshire councils that decided not to be doing a poppy display this year, I thought, let's do a monologue along the lines of where we've gone wrong and why we can do better. So, where did we lose ourselves? Can we truly name the moment in our shared history the United Kingdom forgot its own heartbeat? When we dimmed the spotlight on miracles like penicillin, born in our labs, shipyards that stitched the world together, and the brutal, selfless war we waged, yes, we waged voluntarily against slavery, paying in blood and coin, while others profited off chains. Why did the halls of power decide patriotism was poison? Why hand us DEI like a cure that only divides? Why let shame curdle into self-hate across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, like a union ashamed to sing its own name? But listen, now the pulse returns. Tough, slow, necessary. For our families, our friends, for every child staring out from Belfast to Brighton, we resurrect pride, not as a relic, but as rocket fuel. We led in innovation. Our forefathers picked up arms voluntarily, not for pay, but for purpose, to defend our freedoms and forge a future no tyrant could touch. And today, that call is back. No more kneeling to smears, no more swallowing lies. We stand united, unbroken, because truth, justice, our right to breathe free, those aren't negotiable. Feel isn't rising. Can you feel it? That's the UK waking up. You feel that heat in your chest. That's not anger, it's memory. And memory turned to fire is how we win.
Yeah, brilliant, Pete. I'm a great believer, I think, alongside you, that the UK is going to have some sort of spiritual and cultural awakening, some sort of kind of new enlightenment. I'm not quite sure what form it's going to take, and I'm hoping it's obviously going to take the path of peace.
It would be
but
lovely.
Yes, it would be. It would be
Yeah.
very nice indeed. I'm a big guy for art and music, and I think every movement needs art and music. I'd love to see more art and music and those things come out as well. I also think we need to go back to some of the British history. You're a history guy, and I've kind of suggested to you in the past. We've talked about in the past. We need a little bit more history out there, and also one idea I think that came up last week that I put this on the table was there's so many great British films that documenting Britain going right back into the 60s and beyond. I love to see these films kind of brought out again and just made more of it more available to people. So maybe we'll launch like a film club, a book club or something like that. They'd be good things just to try and get people back into this kind of cultural awakening as well. So yeah, great stuff.
100%. Okay, so now if we've got you back, Sam, are you ready?
Let's hope it lasts.
Here we go. Take the floor.
I actually think that's a fantastic idea about great British films, because you don't see the Battle of Britain. I love all the 60s movies. I watch most of them. Like I do love a good Michael Caine film. And it brings a smile, although sometimes it's quite sad because you think, what have we lost? So it's a bit of a knife edge, but it does perk you up. I mean, I saw what was it, 633 Squadron. My other favourite, which is from childhood, is Where Eagles Dare, and I love that film. I don't know, I love Clint Eastwood as well, and it does perk you up.
Sam, we're going to do we're going to do a film club. I'm a film buff. It sounds like you love film as well. We need some. I used to be a rare book dealer, but I don't read books, which is a weird one. So we need somebody out there that loves books who can kind of run our little book club for this little group, this little space as well, and we can kind of start something here. I think, it's a good stuff.
Yeah, I think being positive, because I know we are like, when you're attacking, I hope you can still hear me, reform, I don't think that is working. So, I mean, it is working to some extent, but I think if we show positive and say we're different, we're not into attacking, we're not into sort of this is what we're for. I mean, there was a great piece of music, actually. I think it was called The Metal Patriot that did it for the Unite the Kingdom. I think I shared it actually, Zoe, somewhere. And it was quite good. It was heavy metal, so, but it was really good. And I sent him a message saying that was really good. I had Ben in it, and Advance, and Elon Musk. I'll share it if I find it again. I'll have to try and find it. But it was
Yeah.
really inspiring.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Love to hear it. I mean, I've got a lot of unreleased music to put out there, and I just love to find more people who are writing music, doing art, making short films, doing stuff about history, just that kind of cultural side of things, because it's one way that we can kind of have do something different. I'm trying to find ways that we can do something different than just politics as normal, and all of these ideas can go into the melting pots. And a crazy, stupid idea can sometimes bring out a good idea, and some of these ideas will having will run, and some won't. But I just think it's worth kind of pushing this a little bit and see where we get with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I mean, maybe Zoe, Pete, you want to come in on this about being a very positive message. I don't think we're going to get anywhere by criticizing the so-called opposition. We're going to get places by being positive and focusing on ourselves and our mission and our message. That's my view. And as far as I can see, 99% of the time, that's what Ben's doing.
It's definitely out there. I mean, when you look around, and if you are one of those people that are on every platform, you do see so much negativity. And I will admit it comes a lot from the other sides, which is a shame because, as you rightly stated there, we are all on this side of the fence. We are trying to do ultimately the same goal, just with different directions to get there. So we have to maintain that, because the last thing we want to do is smear our brand. We don't want to be seen as the people that are the negative, aggressive sorts. And I know a couple of us have been on the receiving end of some harsh tweets on here recently. But all in all, a lot of positivity is coming. A lot of support is coming for Advance. And as we learnt last week, there is a lot of good ideas floating around. And now the key is to bring everyone together in that positive mindset. I try and constantly be positive on the Advance front. And yes, there will be slumps for people, and we want to see everything moving. It might not move as quick as we like, but we know that the UK is broken. Look at the post office. You want to post a letter, you could stand there for half an hour. We just have to be patient, and that's going to be key.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the speech Tommy gave, that massive rally that massive venue he filled out in Tel Aviv this week, and his message was surprisingly optimistic, right, and hopeful. So that kind of gives us all a little bit of cheer, really. Zoe, do you want to come in on anything before we move to the next speaker?
No, I was just going to say I really liked Richard Inman's song that he did as well, "Where Are the Men of England." I thought that was really fantastic. So no, that was there's definitely a good link to music, as you say, and those short films that Sam was just mentioning. There was one, and it was very entertaining, captivating at the same time. So it's a good idea.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's why we need a website to kind of bring all of this together. So we've got a place where everybody can land on, and there's this content that's out there. People can easily find stuff, because not everybody's going to be on this space. People on X generally may be a little bit more active politically than others, but not everybody is on X. So we need a reach out there. Not everybody's in social media, but a website where people can come and find a little bit more of this kind of stuff we're talking about, and links out to films to watch and everything like that. I think we do really, really well. So we're kind of working a little idea along those lines anyway. So we'll see how that goes. So Zoe, do you know who the next speaker is? Do you want to bring them up?
It's North.
Drum roll.
North.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah,
you.
we got you there.
Yeah, okay. So one thought I had is with the threat of digital ID and social credit scores coming in, would Advance UK form maybe unions on, say, WhatsApp or whatever, where if any one of our members gets targeted for non-compliance with digital ID, we could spring into legal action and maybe peaceful protest?
There's not anything. I was going to say there's not anything officially on it, but as it has been stated on many times, the FSU is very much a leading resource for any kind of pushback on the free speech and that kind of thing. The digital ID is going to be a very difficult component, because what they've done now is slightly rein it back on the general population. And as ever, the veterans become the guinea pigs. So no doubt very soon I will be fighting the digital ID battle full on. But it's a great idea that even at the very least that we have a connection network where we can get together and see if we can aid someone in some way.
Yeah, there's one thing that I brought up last week with Richard Thompson was on here. He probably might not be the right college member to bring it up with, but it was some sort of legal contact within Advance UK. There's people I know who've been threatened with being fired from their jobs if their support for Advance was ever to be made public. And there's other people out here who may face, for perfectly legal going about their daily lives perfectly legally, face some sort of ramifications. And one thing I noticed, if anybody here from Advance UK is kind of themselves as a party is listening, that's one thing I think will maybe become increasingly important going forward. Bit of legal advice for people who may be getting, or people who are activists, or people who are getting threats online, or people who are being threatened with leaving their job. I think that there's that guy online, Ben Online, who was sacked from Waitrose because he was a reform supporter and he was posting favourable tweets about reform, and he was sacked from Waitrose, which in Henley-on-Thames, which sounds a bit crazy, but it's true. So that's one little idea that came up last week as well. If anybody from Advance UK is listening and wants to sort of have a look, think about that. Have you finished your kind of comment? That was good.
No, that was it. Yeah, just about unions. That's it from me.
Yeah, I think we need to have a little action. I think there's an idea there for little action committees where topics come up. I think one thing, if I'm going to be critical here, we aim on this kind of space to be a critical friend, a gently critical friend, hopefully, of Advance. But there just seems, obviously the party is still in the turmoil of setting everything up. So we'll give them a break. But sometimes you've seen the Generic, for example, this week being very on the front foot in terms of the little topics that pop up every single day a week. And I think we need to get a little bit better at that. But I certainly think there's a point there where we can have action committees, or there can be specific things that we want to target, and we need to think about how we're going to sort of dominate the space on this, because at the moment some of the other parties are dominating the space and the messaging on some of these hot topics as they kind of pop up. And how can we mobilize to en masse to create action, whether it's email campaigns or letter writing or some sort of other activism? I think there's certainly something there that could be useful. So thanks for that, North.
Okay, moving swiftly on. I've got to do the intro for this one because I feel it needs a bigged up moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you a man, not known to many, but a rising star within our world. A man offering many grandiose opinions. He is the one, the only, Matt.
Pete, you better be careful. He's going to knock you off your pedestal very shortly, you know?
No, it's fine. I don't really sit on a pedestal. I just like to talk, so I do quite well. Thank you for coming back, Matt. Great to have you with us. How are you doing?
That made me feel absolutely sick, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Sick in the modern term means cool and good.
No, definitely in the original term, it made me feel physically ill to be introduced in that way. But thank you, Pete. I will attempt to appreciate it. Yeah, it's a fairly quick one. Just a couple of things that stuck out to me instantly from your guys' intros about, one, focusing on the hope and not getting bogged down in the sort of outrage and obfuscation farm that is current social media and proper media. Like, outrage generates more clicks and positivity, and we've got to find a way of combating that, in my opinion. And my opinion of what my job is to focus on the eye level community stuff by talking to family and friends and work out how we can start quietly going about the business of fixing that. So, like, the first principles angle that you were talking about, what are the main problems? Like, speak to your family, speak to your friends, speak to your colleagues, just be like, look, what's going on? And then once we have a better sort of network of locals, or if you know other people who are of the same opinion, of the same values and morals, just be like, look, why can't we do something about this? Just completely independently of anything, independent of the party. Just go out and sort it out and maybe video it. But we need to sort of avoid the arrogance of doing it. Just be like, look, this is a problem that we've noticed locally and we're going to do this about it. As long as it's legal, as long as it's safe, like obviously don't put yourself at any legal or physical risk of harm trying to fix things. But if we can just identify between us simple problems that have simple solutions that are just not being tackled due to institutional failure. If anyone saw that video of those bins in Brighton, there's not really a lot we can do about all the drains being blocked. But if you see problems like that that are fixable, or if you know a local drainage company that's allowed to do things like that, be like, look, is there any chance you guys could go and clean this drains on this street out to prevent this happening again? Just open up the conversation of actually beginning to fix all the things that we can see that aren't being done inexplicably.
Yeah, it's going right. Yeah, it's going right down to the kind of community level, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I'm getting involved in those small things that affect everyone's day-to-day life that people can relate to in some ways a lot more than they can to sort of national politics. So I think that's a great angle, and I think that as far as I can see, the other political parties, they're focusing much more on, like we said earlier, votes and building their kind of machine. And there is an opportunity there. I do feel there's an opportunity there. But again, we need to work on it and flesh it out a little bit more, I think. And I'm sure the party might be thinking about that as well. Yeah.
But it's also like, so if you think about the country is a massive business, and the business should be making sure that it's well run, well managed, all the usual sort of, we don't really have KPIs of our country. We bring out all these schemes, we bring out all these sort of initiatives, and we never actually properly assess the outcome of them. And that is something that we could do with our ground level work, because we've got sort of networks of activists. We've got networks of sort of friendly social media platforms that could be out there promoting the ground level hopeful work of just people going quietly about sorting out some of the issues in a positive way, not confronting people, just sorting out little problems. And that momentum will grow because people are hungry for it. They're just waiting for people to start standing up and just fixing things, not fighting stuff, just like, look, this is a problem, we're going to fix it.
Yeah, one of the big ideas that sorry, you guys, Zoe, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, actually, Rich Donaldson from the Great British Protest or Strike, I think it's changed to Strike. He's done 2 really good things this week. I applaud him. So first off, he created a wish list on Amazon for things for the homeless, and he's getting them delivered, and he's starting to distribute them, which I thought was amazing. I know he's on our side as well. He's advanced. And the other thing he's done is got some public liability and got somebody to do a risk assessment so that they can do the war memorial parade for the 11th or whenever Remembrance Sunday falls. So yeah, just you're right, actually, little things like that. Obviously, we do need somebody to take control of it, and obviously he is doing that sort of thing. But I suppose we need to know who we can go to with maybe ideas that we have, or if we can take them on board ourselves in our local communities. So yeah, great ideas. Yeah.
One big idea that came out of last week was the idea that we could have some great big sort of national cleanup campaign of the UK. And I noticed, I think last night I was watching the Raise the Colours guys, and I think they were mentioning that part of what they do is, while they're in an area putting the flags up, they also kind of at least spruce it up a little bit, possibly around where the flags are, I'm guessing. But so it seems that people are already kind of taking that kind of idea up a little bit. So I think all of these things can help. You put in our chat. Excellent. Okay, good stuff. Just and please drop by next week as well. Regular 7 p.m. slot. Would love to have you back. So what did you guys make of Tommy's trip to Israel this week, guys? Zoe, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a few of the videos. I particularly enjoyed the takedown of the Channel 4 reporter. Yeah, quite interesting. And I know he's got a lot of backlash for it recently, but I still think it's come over really well. I think it's it's good to have a bit of dialogue and see what's going on.
I found Tommy's trip quite interestingly, particularly how he was phrasing how it's a whole sort of Western civilization that's under threat. It's not just the UK, and it's almost like we in the UK and our movement, even our party, needs to have allies and partners in other Western countries that can give us credibility and give us more sort of strength in numbers as well. This isn't just happening in the UK where the culture is being threatened. It's happening kind of worldwide in every single westernized country. And that
even Japan. So yeah.
Even Japan, although there is a kind of a pushback there, but that can't be by accident. And I still haven't heard a really, really credible explanation of why. I've heard Elon Musk say it's about votes. I've heard somebody else go on about the UN. I've heard somebody else blame Qatar. I've had a lot of theories, but I still haven't heard like an absolutely proven thing of why this is all happening, and it's happening so quickly. And I think ordinary people are just sort of and I class myself as one of those people that's just like, you just can't understand why this is happening, and it's so quickly, and why our governments aren't doing anything about it.
It's just an awful lot being thrown at us at once, is what I feel. It's the digital ID, it's the immigration, it's the economy, it's just a lot all at once, almost to confuse you and to send you a little bit into turmoil. We've got Lorraine. Lorraine, you've requested to speak. Yeah.
My dad he's dead now, Somali. My mum was English.
Okay.
My grandparents are from Ireland. Gosh, I married a man from Wales. My kids are, gosh knows what they are. But what I can say is, for a long time, I considered myself, because of, I don't know, absolutely relentless propaganda, to hate the country I was born in. The only people I knew were white people. And to be honest with you, I married a white man. I've got white kids. And if someone said to me today, do you know what, Lorraine? Who are you? I'd say, I'm English.
I think years ago. I mean, I was from London originally, so multicultural city. I know Liverpool's had had multiple immigration communities or immigrant communities, and everybody was cohesive. But I think if you go too fast and too hard, you don't get that kind of integration. That's kind of how I've seen it. But it's it just seems everything all at once. Just as I say, just to confuse people.
Zoe, I'm with you. My father was from Somalia. My father's from Somalia. So therefore, my three sons do not look like black people. They don't look like them. But they are. They are.
And I mean, does it matter though? That's what we're sort of saying.
Does it
matter?
It does matter. It does matter because inside them, they are African.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you can say these things, and white people can go on and on. Listen, I love white people. I love myself. I love my mum. I love my grandparents. I love everything about me. But what I don't like is when people say to me, they go, do you know what, Lorraine? We're better. Black people are better than white people. I don't like that.
There's been in society, and why we talk about the divide in every which way now. It's all by design. It's very deliberate. You basically got a group of people that for the best part of 141 years have infiltrated every part of society within our legal structure, our school structure, our government structure. Those people follow the Marxism ideals, and it goes into socialism. So what we've got is color versus color, religion versus religion, man
Yes.
versus woman, etc., etc. Now,
Yes.
I was born in Clapham, South London. I lived in Surrey as a kid between there, and I've lived all over the country. And I can categorically say, from my perspective, and everyone I ever knew growing up, we never saw color. It's only a recent phenomenon now that it's become a thing, because none of us here in the advanced people I've ever spoke to remotely mention color. It always comes from an opposition. It always comes from a negative source. Heritage is important. Where we came from is important. Our history is very important.
I understand that. Yeah, you're right.
And that has been society and culture for thousands of years. Every culture has done all sorts of things, and most of the people have no problem with it. There's always going to be something.
The idea is that you should be who you are. You should not be who you think you are.
Yeah. You know who you are deep down inside. At the end of the day, we all grow up in a different environment. We all grow up with different influences, and it molds us as people going forward. And ultimately speaking,
I agree.
Yeah, you can only be who you are. And you're never going to, no, not everybody's ever going to love you. There's always going to be someone that doesn't. But you know what? If you stay true to who you are and your beliefs, you can never go wrong with that.
And my mum was like 17. She went to the hospital and she went, "Can you do this to my daughter?" The hospital doctors went, "No, we can't do that. We will not do that to a little girl."
Good on them. There was talk about this today. There was a thing that came out about hymen reconstruction surgery on children, which is absolutely revolting.
I agree. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Sorry, Lorraine, apologies, but I know that we've got Matt waiting, and I think Ben's come back up again. That's what we're trying to do is take action.
Understand. Listen, I understand. Don't worry. I love you.
Thank you.
I will promote it from France. I'll let you go.
Yeah,
Bye,
Lorraine, you've been a great speaker. We're going to move over to Ben now. Ben, if you're back, if you can
oh my God,
unmute yourself.
It's Ben on.
We've got Ben back.
Thank you.
Finally.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can
good to
hear
you,
you.
Ben.
Oh, great. So it was embarrassing. My first time requesting to speak, and of course, I get hit with hiccups. But yeah.
Are you nervous, Ben?
To be honest, a little bit, but I've had a bit of experience talking in front of a classroom full of kids. So you know what, I think this group's a lot more mature, so not as nervous. But yeah, still probably open to more critique, shall I say? But yeah. A few things were firing through my head there while I was listening to everybody, and I did come out and come back in, so I did miss the first part of Lorraine's talk, but I think it might have been you, Pete, that was saying like you don't know what was happening when people go to like universities and come back. I was listening to the Advanced UK education podcast, X space that they did yesterday, and Professor Fenton, I think his name was, he actually did like a really good little talk on like his theory behind it as well. So I won't go into that because that's not what this is about, but I do recommend people like just listen to that and hear what the professor had to say about that, because I was actually starting to agree with him. So anyway, moving on to what we were meant to be talking about here. I think personally the morale of the country is very, very low. And when I think about it, like we mentioned before, like what did we do back in the day? And I remember, like, you know, bonfire night. There was loads of fairs, like even like country fairs used to go. Because I remember my nan used to take me to some like country fairs that used to happen outside of Liverpool, because that's where I'm based. And it was just seemed a lot more. The morale just seemed a lot higher than what it is now. And I believe as Advanced UK, I believe we should try and, you know, make ourselves a lot more visible. I think Matt touched on this before, like when he was saying, like, you know, there's like litter in the streets and stuff like that. We should maybe like have like badges that like just show our logo and actually lead by example and actually start doing things like, you know, that the community, like start showing that, you know, we are the people for the community, like make sure that, you know, members of our political party that are like doing these nice kind of things for the people, because everybody likes to talk the talk, but we need to see evidence of people actually walking the walk. So when you are like helping the community, make sure that you are taking pictures of yourself doing it. People might think, oh, well, look, he's just looking for some, I think like the kids say clout or whatever, but looking to like big themselves up. But we should be showing it because we want to show that we are making a positive impact. And so like, and also another thing is having like trying to come up with some events to help people come out and like come out of their houses and raise the morale. I think it'll be a good opportunity for not just to promote our party, but just politics, and not politics in general, but the importance of voting in general, because 19 million people, from what I've read, didn't vote. So that's potentially 19 million people that could vote for Advance UK if we give them a good reason to. And some people might say, well, you know, there were other factors in play, but that's even more. So let's try and educate some of the people when we're representing Advance UK, saying, make sure you've got your driver's license so that you've got photo ID when you go to the booth. Because some people just need reminded, or some people might just need to get informed because they might not have known that. And, you know, they might have wanted to vote on the day, realize they haven't got their ID and like, oh, I can't be bothered going back again. So let's try and educate people and lead by example while showing our brand to everyone. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
I mean, no, you've made good points. Now, one thing we did say on the previous space last week, because it goes into my field of career, I'm a hospitality manager, retired singer. So we did talk a lot about trying to do some more British patriotic, like the old days, afternoon teas, party in the parks, where there were themed events that families could come to. It would be seen as a nice national thing, bring back a little bit of pride. So yeah, definitely along those lines, that works really well. The education system, sadly, is one of those scenarios. I mean, I have my standpoints on it, which I frequently say on YouTube a lot. This goes back, you know, the Rothschilds, and you're talking yet again the Fabians, 141 years of diluting down the systems. And ultimately speaking, there's no creativity left, is there? I think schools need to go back to the patriotic stand where they put these syllables back in. And I remember doing all kinds of British history. Apparently now, I'm being told it's not a thing. It just doesn't exist. So if we whitewash the history too much, therefore we lose the patriot stand down the line. People lose the love for the country. So I know I'm going to be doing a very big push via my YouTube to be making history a thing, because growing up I was obsessed with the Second World War period. I loved the films, I loved the music, the fashion. I did the reenactment for years. Even now I still dress like a leftover Victorian or 1940s person. So we have to bring all those, like you say, all those patriotic, proud to be British stances back, definitely.
And so just add on to that with British history, like I didn't even know about William Wilberforce until like a couple of months ago, because people were trying to say, why does nobody talk about him? And I was thinking, well, who is he? And I looked him up, and then here he is, a British person that ended the Atlantic slave trade. I was thinking, why is he never brought up at all? But is it because, dare I say, is it because he does not fit the narrative?
Basically,
yeah. So yeah.
But the Fabian Society, as they stand, I gave a little bit of a rundown. I did a documentary, which is on my channel, Historic Hospitality. They're basically a lowered form of communism, Marxism. So it's that kind of centralized government, state-controlled everything. So what they've done is effectively broken down our coherency of the old days. They don't want us to really remember the things that we achieved. So there's been a lot of talk about the slave trade and where it came from, etc. We're blamed for everything. I think that's clear. But it's not the case, because he actually abolished the slave trade across the British Empire. I think it was around the 1750s. So what happened was we only finished paying this in recent history. We took out, by equivalent, billions of pounds. We took the warships out and we fought to end slavery. But people don't know, like you say, the history, the person, and it's a shame, because the slave trade is very much alive in different parts of the world, and it was always running before we came along, and it wasn't really us that created it. Obviously, there's a lot bigger thing from the Americas with all the cotton plantations and that kind of thing. It's not really my field of expertise, but yeah, it's just a shame that we try to dilute down our history to feed the current narrative and those groups of people.
Yeah, one thing, Pete, I don't know if you know, I was shocked. This is only a year ago that I learnt that we've already kind of heard of the kind of phrase, is it the white slave trade or something like that, and of the Barbary pirates.
Yeah,
But I was
Barbary,
shocked
right.
to discover that they were raiding Cornish and Irish villages and capturing the whole village, including the women and children,
Yeah,
and
off the
taking them
coast.
back to the Far East. They were even intercepting ships going to and from the Americas, and I believe they may have even done raids on the coast of America. So that was in fairly recent history, and I think it was before the kind of slave trade that we're talking about, the African to American kind of slave trade, with America's kind of slave trade. And I've never known about this, never heard of it. It was never taught in school. But yeah, I don't know if you know much about that era at all, Pete.
It's a little bit before my time, but yeah, no. What happened was the slave trade was pretty rife. So the kind of concise, dumbed down version is the sort of Islamic slave trade from across there was going, and they would pick up the Irish, the English, they would sail across the coast of Ireland, and they basically snatch people out, like you say, of the local villages. But that trade was going several hundred years before we came along, and
Hundreds of years, yeah.
hundreds of years. And it's the same with Africa. What people don't realize is a lot of the actual African tribes, they had conflicts and that kind of thing. The Africans would sell fellow people to the slave traders, and then they'd obviously cart them off around the world. So it's just a really sad part of history that people are almost ashamed in this country of everything we do. But we were the leading force to stop that. We were the people that went out at huge expense, as I mentioned in the opening monologue I did, to stop it. And it's just a shame. But it's the first way to control a people is to basically erase their history, so they're far more moldable. And that's just what we've got to counteract. We've got to look back to the past, remember the names, not be worried of the smears, the titles, the far right, the racist, because it's all incorrect anyway, and just really push the history, because people can be proud of what this country has done and what it will continue to do.
What's your kind of position in life?
I'm currently 33 years old, and
Right.
I've sort of been here, there, and everywhere. So I actually went to university and got biomedical sciences. Then I went into labs. Sorry, it wasn't my style. Went into teaching, and now I work in government data. So yeah, I work for the Combined Authority.
Yes. So you went through the university, I guess?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, you're probably just about that age then, when you were going through that system, where I kind of noticed that the student population coming out of university was very different than it had previously been.
To be honest, it also depended on the and this is where I had to agree with the Professor Fenton. It was the degrees that people were doing. So certain degrees, you sort of had this. If you're taking like a more, without meaning to smear anything, but if you were taking a more actual professional degree, one that had like a job opportunity at the end of it, you were less likely to walk out without this sort of like woke ideology,
like accountancy or finance or something like that.
Yes, yeah, because I didn't see it within my cohort, but I did see it because obviously when you're at university, you do mix with other people who are doing other courses, and you do tend to see it more in other courses rather than within my own. So it did seem to be a bit of a theme there. I think I'm not going to say this is for all of the cases, but a lot of it was like attention, because social media was really starting to ramp up, because I was the generation that started playing in the streets and then ended in digital. So I sort of noticed it firsthand, like the sort of acceleration. I was quite one of the last few people to join Facebook. Like even now with X, I've only just joined it because of Advanced UK. So I'm not really fully up to date with social, but I do know other people my age who just are totally engrossed by it. And then when you factor in algorithms And the more you play into the algorithm, the more of that sort of propaganda you'll see. It's very influential. And I saw two different people start off as friends and then actually divide because of the different sides of propaganda they were exposed to. And it was through a lot of social media and sort of like wanting to get that attention, having to put yourself out there, because if you didn't, you weren't seen as part of the norm. But being part of the norm, you're exposing yourself to all this influence. It's just being exposed to all the influence through the likes of social media. That was it, really.
I don't know if Ben's been listening to us in the rat's nest, but he's just posted that obviously it was the best thing to be British, and we need to make it so again. So.
Yeah, all of my friends when I was living in London for 25 years, almost all of my friends were from other countries around the world that all come to the UK for one reason, because they love Britain. They all seem to love the Queen. They love the UK. They loved our traditions. They all thought it was the most amazing country on the earth. And I had friends from India, Bangladesh, different countries, South America, all around the world, and people I worked with. And Britain was like, it was the country that you would want to go to, or America. It was one of the two, and somehow we're kind of completely losing that international reputation now. It's a bit like Sweden used to be the place you would go to if you wanted to go somewhere peaceful and quiet and beautiful and super safe and natural. And now I think it's right up there as one of the most dangerous countries in the world, if I'm correct.
I'll try and address things in the order that they were said. So to Lorraine's main point about FGM, it definitely is illegal. Any registered practitioner has a legal duty to report if they suspect it. That's anyone up from sort of nurse level to doctors. So if anyone's not doing that, they should be fully punished. That's all I'm going to say on that, because we're trying to keep this space positive. Ben, you said this is a mature audience, so I hate to inform you, but prepare to be mistaken. I think a core part of being British is our self-deprecating humour, and we've lost a lot of that. And it amazes me how much all of this stuff ties in together. Wolf was perfect in his sort of laying out of the drip feed that it's been for like decades and decades and decades. But we're past the part of the drip now, because they can feel the winds are changing. That's why Zoe said it feels like everything's coming at once. They can feel the tide is turning. So we're currently in the hammer phase. They've been ironing us out for decades, trying to get us into a position where they can flatten us and bring about the sickle. But that only happens, like, here comes the hope. Like, that only happens if we let it, by doing exactly what we're doing and speaking about this and shining a light on the darkness. We expose what they are. And that's why I'm so happy that things like this are being put on. Like, we're being carpet bombed at the minute, and they're trying to flatten us into that submissive state where they can do what they can want. They can take control of the dialect, stop us talking, and control us. What you said, Ben, like, ties in perfectly to this as well. I'm about your age, I'm 32, and it's that erosion of sense of self. I took history for GCSE, and we weren't allowed to learn British history. And that erosion of self, in conjunction with externalizing our validation through social media and all the encouragement of that, is what's creating this horrific state of being. Because we don't have a sense of who we are. We're not taught our history. Like, and I think we should be taught the good and the bad. I'm sick of people judging 20, like, generations ago by today's standards. Like, yes, the whole of history had some pretty horrific stuff going on. I don't know a single empire that didn't practice slavery, but guess what? We decided to end it, and that was because of the evangelical Christian influence.
But the weird thing is, 20 years ago, I remember London in the 1980s. No one talked about this. Maybe the odd lefty professor somewhere going on about this. It was never a topic of conversation. You would, wherever you went in the UK, you would meet people from different places, but there would be there was obviously some kind of casual racism, street racism in different areas, but nobody was really talking about empire and colonialism and slavery and all of that kind of stuff. It was never a topic of conversation. The country was moving forward. It was developing. It was a country in motion. And somewhere along the line, something has happened. And obviously, people say it's kind of started with Tony Blair, but it's gone very, very badly wrong. And it's difficult to pinpoint who, how, and why. And I've never yet heard somebody including Douglas Murray's of the world, actually kind of really lay it out in a way that doesn't sound like a complete conspiracy theory, because there must be a lot of factors coming together to make this rapid cultural decline of Western culture happen. And one of the main things that's happening is the complete weakening. Obviously, I'm not a practicing Christian, but it's a complete weakening of religion in this country. You find that countries like Poland, where religion, and Hungary, where religion is still a very big, and Spain, where religion is a very big part of the culture, they're kind of slower to give up. But there's other things as well. If you've been taught all your life about other cultures and not your own culture, you've kind of become weakened. You've lost your identity. And then now, if you wear an English flag or anything like that, or that lady in Scotland who's, I think, under police caution now, or police investigation for saying she was proud to be born and bred in Scotland or Falkirk or somewhere. It's like, when you can say that and the police come knocking on your door, we're living in very, very strange times indeed.
Lots of conspiracy theories are conspiracy theories until they're proven, and we've got enough evidence of the Fabian Society intertwining itself within all of our institutions to sort of take a more serious look at it. And
there's all the WEF and Bill Gates and George Soros. Yes, they're players in all of this, but there's more to it happening, because you've got, if you look at Ireland, all the political parties in Ireland are complicit to the almost complete takeover now of Ireland by mass immigration. And unlike in the UK, a lot of what's happening in Ireland, they're being bussed in and shipped in. There's a lot of illegal immigration there as well.
But I find it insane that they're trying to use the same arguments as they use against us in Ireland, because it just does not fit what happened in Irish history either. It's such an insane disgrace, and I can understand why they're losing their minds over it.
It's shocking that there's 2,000 men holed up in a hotel and a 10-year-old girl was allegedly taken there and raped. And that's what the protests were happening in Dublin over the last couple of days. And what's even more shocking is the social services have said, well, she had behavioral problems, almost like blaming this 10-year-old child who was under the care of social services in a children's home.
Well, the BBC called our girls child prostitutes, so I don't really put anything past the media these days.
Yeah, exactly. Ben?
No, it was just to do with the whole. I was thinking, like, from an advanced UK point of view, what could we do differently compared to all the other political parties? And I feel like a lot of, like, conspiracy theories, like, they sort of tend to spin off because the truth is hidden. And I think with Advanced UK, we should be completely transparent. And I don't know, because, like I said, even though I do government data, I'm not a politician, but to be honest, we should be seen as human. And the government always want to be seen as perfect, so they'll never admit when they're wrong. You'll never see, like, a politician, or very rarely see a politician, put their hands up unless they've got a gun on their back because the media's got some, like, hard evidence. Like, we need to be very transparent from the get-go. I remember when I went to Germany, and it was poetic. But, like, I remember tour guides saying, like, have you noticed about the government buildings ever since the World War? Because the World War, like, bombed Germany to bits. And when they rebuilt it up, the government buildings are built full of windows. And it was because ever since the World War, they want to have this image of transparency. And, like, that resonates with me. Although they might not be transparent now, but I think that's what we should be. We should be very transparent. We should be showing our decisions through evidence. So before we made the decision, I think we should show our evidence leading up to that decision, so then people can see that our intent behind that decision was good, and that it can be going all the way back to, like, point A. And we should not try and hide anything for fear of failure. We should try and actually show, like, look, we're trying to be innovative, like, we're trying to go based on concrete evidence. So as Advanced UK and as ourselves, like I say, I keep saying lead by example, we should be very transparent, and we should show evidence through the reasons of why it is we're doing what we're doing. And then there's hardly any conspiracy theory then, because it's all there, it's all out in the open, and it's all easily accessible, and people won't be able to, like, misinterpret it because it's all there. But like I said, that's just my wish, obviously. And I know in reality some people might say, oh well, it's going to cause, like, a can of worms, but I say let it. But that's my opinion.
No, you're right, because if the government had come in and said we're going to have to remove the winter fuel allowance for pensioners because of this, or actually, been really transparent and clear as to the reason behind it, and the fact that those people that really needed it could still get it, then I think they would have. I mean, they're never going to, but they would have won sort of hearts and minds a little bit more, rather than just coming in like a sledgehammer. If you try and explain to people and bring them with you, which is exactly what I think we are trying to do as a party, hear everybody's opinions, and then bring people along with you, then that's so much better than just taking a sledgehammer and sort of say, well, this is what we decided. I don't want to go back to reform, but reform set their policies out. It's coming from the top, and you either like it or you lump it. There's absolutely no way of kind of having any input. So, I think that is a really good point that you've made. The transparency and obviously explaining
the reasoning
things
behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a policy platform. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but I've got it saved. I can have a look. So there's a policy platform that you vote on, and then the top votes, like the particular one that they did on immigration, they then put that out to like a petition, and then they created the policy document, which I still haven't managed to get through. It's really in depth. It's quite small on my phone, so I needed to really get on my laptop and read it. But it was quite in depth, and some people say it didn't go far enough. Some people were like, I think we spoke about this last week. Do we leave the ECHR, or do we just come in and do we ignore it? Obviously that's for us to decide whether we adopt Restore's policy in its entirety, or we tweak it. But they are doing some good work in the background, and I think also the freedom of information requests that they're doing. I joined. I have questioned them a little bit, because as I said, I think before, there didn't seem to be the policies that there didn't seem to be many votes on them, and I was kind of like, I mean, is this really going to make a difference? But nobody's told me how many members they've actually got. But Rupert Lowe, I do believe is for the greater good. I might change my mind if he goes to Tories, but
well, regardless of whether Rupert Lowe, I think he's a good man, and I think I would obviously love to have him come in our spaces at sometime in the future. Definitely.
I'm so sorry, but I always saw myself as a liberal, live and let live, all the rest of it, just everybody get on, and maybe that's a bit, utopia, but that's kind of how I was brought up. I got on with everybody. I as I say, very diverse city, London, very diverse school, college, all the way through employment, so Lib Dem was kind of like, and the other reason is here where I am, it's either Conservative or it's Lib Dem. So I never wanted to go for reform, even though I know, I knew that they were there, and I knew in the local elections recently they were there, and I just couldn't. It was a gut thing. I just couldn't bring myself to vote for them. So when Ben created Advance, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is me, and I will do everything I can in my power to be able to, advance, if you like. So, hence here we are.
Yeah, Matt, you got your hand up.
Yes, very quick one. I love Ben's idea about sort of transparency, and I just wanted to say, because he's obviously a data-driven guy, being a biomedical sciences guy, and I think there's not enough sort of light shone on the fact that we've had a very left-leaning academia bias for a long time, and actually, if we can somehow improve the general public's data literacy, or have sort of people going through the study methodology of all of these studies that they're using to sort of try and make it seem the way that they want it to seem, even though they've used bad methodology, they haven't used a representative sample, but then they still take the studies as rote. A lot of these studies that get used for so many things have terrible methodology. You can point out 10 things by reading them that they've done wrong, or that don't sort of repeat themselves. And particularly within a lot of the social sciences, because within the I'm not saying that there is no place for social sciences. I think they are valuable, but a lot of it is quite subjective and open to manipulation. So yeah, if we can somehow improve people's data literacy, or even have like a team of people that go through academic studies that are released and just point out things that say, oh, hang on, actually, this could maybe be done a bit better. Again, don't do it in a combative way. Just be objective and reasonable, and you'll hopefully reach the people that are willing to listen.
You know what, Ben? Because Ben Habib did mention that if there's a very slim chance he might be able to jump on for a few minutes, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think Ben is sitting somewhere with a baked potato and a few bottles of beer, watching the football. What football is it anyway that's on?
We've got Chelsea. It's a
Champions
Euro game.
League,
Yeah.
Liverpool. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, it's a big one.
Mm.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that I do think technology and the use of technology is really, really important as well to think about, not just boots on the ground kind of politics, but we do need to be thinking about bigger ideas and technology and the use of data as well.
There's a
I don't know
lot.
if you guys have anything to say about that.
It's also the feedback from that data. This is what I was getting at with the KPIs. In a business, when you bring in a new initiative, you assess it 6 or 12 months or whatever time frame down the line and say, right, what's working, what isn't working, how could we maybe tweak it, or does this just need scrapped? We don't do that with our government, and I have no idea why.
I can sort of say from the bit I've been exposed to, it's because they haven't been set up properly, so they're not even capturing the data correctly enough to hold certain projects or even individuals accountable. So it's actually already it's the infrastructure's not there, and I'm trying to promote that right now. And right now in my work, we're going through combined authorities are going through integrated settlement. So I'm sort of trying to make a stand there, but that's dealing with devolution money, so not anything else, just devolution.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, how's it going, guys? You having a wonderful evening?
We're doing okay. Yeah,
Quite,
the
it's quite
football's on.
chilled. Yeah.
Yeah, last week we had 500 people at one point,
Whoa,
but tonight,
that's awesome.
tonight the football's on. So I think a lot of people have dropped off to go to that. Really, if you're late to the party, this is kind of a space where if you're an advanced UK supporter or member, or to be honest, any kind of ally of that or interested, then the place to come on and just share ideas, chat about stuff. As long as it doesn't go into the dark subject matter too much, or it's not too heavy about policy. It's a good space for that. Yeah. So.
Okay. Actually, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I've got quite a few questions in regards to what may be happening in London on the 2nd of November.
Go for it. Yeah, I think is that when there's an event on?
Yeah, that's also my 27th
I think
birthday.
Pete. Yeah, my co-host
Literally,
here is
yeah,
the man to speak to, Pete.
Yeah, there was something on there. I
Yeah.
think it's to do with Croydon. Something
Croydon.
going around
Right,
there.
that's the Advanced UK. Yeah, that's the Advanced UK. Basically the Surrey branch meet, and that is yes, that's going ahead, because I'm actually going. I'm registered.
Yeah,
in
and
Really?
Sachin, if you go there, you can actually meet Pete. If you're Pete is a very snappy dresser. I don't think there's any way to compete with Pete. But you're welcome to go and give it a try, mate. But you'll go and meet Pete there. I think is it Howard Cox is going as well.
Yeah, you got Howard Cox, James Law. It seems to be quite a like informal, quite relaxed event. There's been a WhatsApp group set up, so obviously people can have a natter beforehand. So yeah, it seems like it'd be a nice little thing, good to go to. Where are you based?
I'm based around the corner from there.
Ah, right, okay. I think obviously it's down as Croydon. They're going to release the venue on the day because, obvious reasons, there's been a lot of pushback at any advanced-based things. But if you go onto the Advanced Surrey supporters page, if you're on Facebook, you can apply and just say, look, this is who I am, and they can take it from there. But yeah, no, there's still people signing up and registering. I think the numbers have jumped up again today. But yeah, it's definitely going ahead. It's just the venue will be last minute. Oh, and if you are looking, just reminded myself, I recently set up a London supporters page for Advanced UK, which on Facebook as well, trying to grow that and pass it around. There's also now a youth page, trying to get some under 21s in there, and the veterans page for anyone that's a veteran.
Just
So you
sorry.
want to share those links in the chat, people?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to add to that, North, who was in earlier, he actually created a link tree for all of the Facebook groups and pages.
Ah, it was him. I saw that post going around. Yeah.
Yeah, I meant to thank him because that was a brilliant idea. Because obviously we needed it in one resource somewhere. I know some guy went through all of the Facebook pages the other day and wrote all of them out in a post, which I thanked him for, and then said, if somebody had done a link tree for it. So yeah, if anybody on here is looking for their local Facebook group, I will try and grab that link in a minute and pop it in the purple pill so that we've got that there for anybody that wants it.
Brilliant. Yeah, because that is something that people are asking. And the other thing where we go back to connection as well is we need to start, building the branches together when they come, as well as the supporters pages. Everything has to tie up so it's a lot more searchable, because we're quite fractured and we need the coherency together. So it'd be nice as time goes on that the traction picks up on these groups, because some have very small memberships, some are brand new, and hopefully now more people are definitely finding them and they can start to share them. Because the thing with social media, as I can tell you with my YouTube channel, is you can have a very well put together video. It could be the best video ever, but if people don't press the like, and they don't share it, it doesn't get anywhere. People don't see it. So it's vital that people are sharing the groups and the events and the pages as well.
Yep, 100%. I mean, I actually did get quite a lot of new members to my Facebook group this week. So that was nice.
It'll be a new political party soon.
Yeah, all on our own. But yes, I know that as you say, there's events going on. So there's one up in the northeast. There's one in Leeds, 8th of November. I know that's sold out currently. So yeah, hopefully there'll be more popping up. And I know YC was talking on a space last night. I actually stayed up till 1 o'clock last night listening to another space, and she was talking about the what do you call it? The practice branches. I've forgotten what the name for them was.
Are they doing test branches?
Test branches, that's it. Practice branches. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Test practice, all the same thing. Fine.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to find out where they are and whether we can sort of coalesce a little bit around them at all. So yeah, that's coming, apparently coming soon. So
yeah, sure. As a matter of
Go for
fact,
it.
there was quite a few that I wanted to ask on the September 13th, but yeah, man, I actually just wanted to ask if there's going to be any more like free merch. I really like some of the Advanced UK t-shirts, but I didn't manage to get any that day.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of us missed out on that. It's they were popular.
I got one.
I didn't even realise.
I got one.
All right, yes, you got one. Yeah, they gave out free stuff, and I missed out. And I was like, well, I didn't
mine
know
wasn't
about it.
free. Mine wasn't
Oh no,
free.
technically, you had to exchange. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. They've got the shop up and running, and obviously, I helped crash the website in 2 hours. And it's
Yeah.
I got to put it out. So it's one of those things, like, to be seen, merchandise, product, advertising. It's going to really help. But with the smaller events now, they're going to be very much just communities building up where they can talk, meet like-minded people, and spread the word.
Yeah, guys, I just noticed Anthony Mack is in the chat here, so I'm just going to bring him up if that's okay, and we can always come back and go for it. So, hi, Anthony. Yeah.
Sorry, let me just turn the football down. You're quite right. A lot of people are watching the football.
Bloody knew it.
Anthony,
I was also building a flat pack, but I was listening to you.
Yeah, we were expecting your mate Ben to come on as well tonight. He did say that if he had a chance, he'd pop on for a couple of minutes as well. So yeah.
It's all it's all a bit fraught and very, very busy. But yeah, I mean, what you were saying about meetups and the structure and the test groups, etc. I've been talking to Ben and Floss about it. We over in Clacton, we purchased some domain names just to be on the safe side. So we've set up a website in Clacton. But the problem is that we have to be very, very careful with GDP and data. So people can't actually sign up to the website, and that's fine. And what we're going to do, we're going to load a link onto it to the main Advance website. And it's just about keeping people informed in the sort of collecting, tendering, that sort of area. Because Floss assures me that within a 10-mile radius of Clacton, there are 450 members, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, you know, we're going for, we're just getting out some venues now. We're going for an informal one in November. And then what we'll try and do is we'll try and schedule a bigger one. But I think, I mean, that was how I built the previous party, You Shall Not Be Mentioned. That was how I built it in Clacton. So I'm just doing more or less the same thing. Ben asked me to get back into it, and I'm just doing more or less the same thing. And
Anthony, can I just interrupt you? Were you the member who stood down so Nigel could take the seat over?
Well, I was the member who was assured by Nigel that but it's a long old story. I don't know if you've seen the Paul Thorpe interview with myself and Ben.
Oh, I did indeed. Yeah. No, I know. I'm just double checking because I didn't capture your name on the show. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's some story, man.
Yeah, people know me, call me Tony Mac. So it's Tony. Anthony sort of, people don't connect it, but that's fine. It's so I mean it's all moving in the right direction. You know, I've heard some very, very good suggestions. I mean, I saw as well the group links that were put together. That was brilliant. And we've got some very, very talented people, even in this space here. You know, some of the things. I mean, please forgive me. I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to technology, but some of the stuff that's been spoken about, it's amazing. It really infuses me. You know, because there's a lot of talent out there that really could be harnessed in the right direction, and you know, it's all good stuff. It really is all good stuff as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, were you at the launch up in Newcastle?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, when after Ben's speech, he took some questions from the audience, and I think I'm the guy in the audience who said, it's great having all the new media here, but what about us, the ordinary supporters? What can we do to get involved and get started? Because I was very aware that I'd gone there with a specific talent that I have, and I'd spoken to other people who had a lot of talent there as well, and we wanted kind of direction. So that's kind of how this space kind of came about.
And you asked the question, and you asked the question properly, and you know, and you were right, because you know there was a couple of us. I was in the top tier looking down. My wife was helping Vicky sell the merchandise, and you know, and it was a very, very good question. But see, the problem that we have, I mean, you know, I speak to Floss a lot and Ben a lot, obviously, but it's all about this ratification from the electoral committee, okay? And it's proving to be a little bit more tricky and a little bit more under scrutiny than what usually would be. So they're playing the safe game, and you know, I wasn't going to launch the website because it's been built now for a little while. But after speaking to Ben and Floss, it's okay to launch it, but we have to be very careful what we put on there. So it's more or less just you know, we can't put no videos on there yet. We can't put no official advanced stuff. It's like an informal for advanced people or advanced members in the area to get together and connect and things like that, because that's how we have to do it. Yeah, and it will grow. It will literally grow. You know, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long, because you're quite right. What you said there, you know, people share, people like and share, etc., and it just it takes on a momentum of its own. And the people are out there, and I'm pretty sure, you know, if I know, you know, if I know Ben and Floss and even people like yourselves, you know, I've listened to you a couple of times, and you're all very knowledgeable. You're all very capable, and which really does infuse me. It really does infuse me, and I'm sure we're going to do some great things.
Sorry, can I just jump in quickly? Obviously, you've got the connection, and you know, you're in the know. You've got a bit of information. There was obviously the problem ongoing, which I've seen a few times and sent some messages. The email came out about a lot of venues cancelling and all that kind of, you know, nasty situation. And it said, if there's anyone that can help with venues, etc. Obviously, my entire career has been not only restaurant management in hotels, but it's also been event management and performance. So what I sent an email back, which is probably lost in a massive emails, to be fair. I've done a lot of venue negotiations. I'm pretty good at retaining things. So I kind of put myself forward that if there are cancellation issues, I may well be able to sort of stop it from being cancelled and negotiate a sort of a stance from the party's point where it's not going to be branded this far right extremist group turning up. Because it's my industry, because I'm with the Institute of Hospitality. I speak on their panels and everything. I'm based in London, back in London now. I may be going to a job in a large hotel again. I'm currently not working. So, yeah, I have a feeling that I can sort of belay a lot of the problems that might be coming when venues are going, oh, dear God. So I don't know if they'll pick up the emails like that, but obviously I just thought I'd mention it.
Right. Okay. So I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Listen, all of this stuff is so valuable in the inception of and setting up a network for a party. It is absolutely invaluable. So, your services and what you can do is like it's something that I remember when I first got involved a couple of years ago, and I would go around to venues, local venues, and when you mentioned, that it was a political event, unless there was a lot of money involved, they would sort of, oh, I don't know, because of this, because of that, because of this, and we kept persevering and we broke through and we built quite a solid base, and then once it got a bit more popular, it was easier to get into venues. I think, the cancellation of the Crown Plaza up in Newcastle.
Yeah.
I know it gave us a lot of exposure, but it kind of planted a seed in the psyche that it's acceptable to cancel, and that we're going to have to combat that. We're going to have to combat that in the upcoming. But I went to an event last week over in Essex in Pilgrim's Hatch that Norma organised, and it was fine. There was no aggravation. I don't think there was any inclination of a cancellation or anything. So we'll navigate that as we get there. But fortunately, in Clacton, there's a network of people, a few people, and I obviously I know a lot of people as well. So we will get the venues, and there are also people who are on board who are quite popular and influential in the community, and they have a word with their publican pals and things like that. So we will be okay, but it's just something that you do encounter, and it's normally from the ones that you don't expect to encounter.
Yeah, I mean the Park Plaza one. The Park Plaza, looking at it, it's probably apparently it was owned by the council. If that's the case, they're all doing it. If they're buying the brand, yeah.
Yeah, it was the leader. It was the leader of the council who intervened, and they made up some rubbish about health and safety, which was absolute cobblers. But I mean, it did us a favour at the time because we went on the attack, and there was a lot of exposure, which was good because, as we know, with the cancellation of Ben on Talk TV and GB News, we need all the exposure we can get.
Yeah,
which is going quite well, in my opinion, considering when you consider, all the things that are against us, as far as mainstream media goes. I mean, it's almost like a complete blackout of mainstream media when it comes to Advance UK. But it seems that complete blackout seems to have fueled independent media's interest in Advance UK, which is a great thing. And obviously, people like me, podcasts is a new thing to me. I've never done them before, and I'm learning as I go. And I'm particularly learning that if you're on camera, don't keep looking away and don't keep swigging out of a can of Pepsi Max, because after all that shit back, I thought, oh my God, do you know what I mean? But and that's the thing. I've got another podcast coming up next week, and I'm open to do any of them. I was going to say, has anybody ever heard of a journalist called what's his name? Miles. Anyway, he's writing a book on Farage, and he's asked for my number. I was just wondering if anybody's heard of him or knows his work. What's his name? Miles Coslet or Miles Goslet or Miles something like that.
Is it Costello?
No, it's not Miles Costello. Hold on, let me just come out of this a minute. I'm not going to come out, but I'm just going to come off of this page. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
I can see you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to come out of this page and pull it up. A chap called what's his name? Hold on, just a second. See, as I said to you, I'm a Luddite when it comes to technology.
It's overrated.
A guy called.
Is it Miles Bonner, right?
No, Miles.
BONNAR.
No, that's not him. It's a chap called. Let me just pull this up. Miles Goslet.
Miles Gosling. No.
Miles Goslet. LETT. Apparently, he's done a lot of work on, exposing, scandals, government scandals. The Dr. David Kelly, the Jimmy Savile stuff. He's done a lot of work around that. I just wondered if anybody was familiar with him because I don't know nothing about this chap, and I'm expecting a phone call with him, and I'm not sure. I mean, listen, people know that I'm in the privileged position where I only have to tell the truth, and it's like, wow, people want to know it, and I'm prepared to tell the truth about exactly what happened. There is a perhaps an ambiguous legality with playing the recordings of everything that went on with me and Farage, but they are there, so that can always be backed up if anything's ever challenged. So, more's going to come out without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I think it would be very interesting, and what his spin is. Who is he working for? Is he working for what is his take? Is his take an honest journalistic take on the situation, or is he working? Where is he coming from politically? If that makes any sense.
This is what I'm yet to find out. This is why I just put the name out there to see if anybody knows.
Yeah, he's on X, but a lot of his posts are quite old, to be honest. But 2020, and that's it. He's sort of stopped. But it was all very
right. Okay. So I think from what I can gather, he's writing a book on our Nigel, and he's asked if he can get my contact details.
He was very close to Lord Ashcroft, the Tory donor.
Right. Okay.
According to what I can see here.
But listen, journalists are not my favourite people, to be perfectly honest with you.
No.
Because I mean, there are. Let me be perfectly honest. There are one or two who are very, good and honourable, but most of them, will spin what you say. And I've read things that I've been quoted as saying that were taken out of context. I've also had hit jobs done on me as well. So journalists are not necessarily my favourite people. So I will be literally pulling it apart with a fine-tooth comb and looking at angles and everything else. But I have met a couple of very, very decent stand-up journalists who have been kind enough to run things by me before they print them, and that's how it should be. So you're not misquoted.
I think he was a researcher for Lord Ashcroft. So Lord Ashcroft, the Tory donor, obviously. So one might assume that he's on the kind of Tory side of the fence, or he might just be genuinely doing an independent. He's also done scoops about the kids' company in London,
yes,
which
that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. He's about exposés, really. He's about bringing things to, and listen. As sure as eggs is eggs, I believe that there are going to be quite a few skeletons coming out of a closet for one or two people.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think that that there are. I think that the whole political landscape could change completely in the next couple of years, and
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I don't think that the current leaders of reform, there's a very good chance that something will happen big. There are scandals I've heard whispers of, but I can't go into them.
Well,
as well.
I predicted on June the 5th last year, and it's all in the public realm. I predicted that he took over the party on June the 3rd, and I predicted on June the 5th that he would destroy it in 18 months. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you know, that party is not that party that was built by all of us. It's not the party at all.
Yeah.
It's something completely different. And I was, you know, because I'm arranging a meet up and I'm going to be able to give a talk and things like that. So I was doing a little bit of due diligence about, you know, because the question that we're going to be asked all the time is about splitting the vote. That's going to be a question on everybody's lips. So we need to have an adequate answer for that. And also, you know, the question about, you know, well, why would I vote for advance when I could vote for reform? Aren't you the same? So obviously there are big differences, you know, not just in differences in integrity and honesty, but there's also differences in policy. You know, Nigel Farage is for reformer for a united Ireland, and we're for a united kingdom. But diametrically opposed philosophies there. There's other things as well. You know, when they talk about, you know, when Nigel stands up and espouses about free speech, you know, that it's a little bit hypocritical. And when he espouses about democracy, it's a little bit hypocritical. And when he espouses about, you know, by-elections should be called unless they are defecting to reform, it's a little bit hypocritical. All of this stuff, you know. So he's doing a good job. He's doing a good job of what I predicted he would do. But, you know, you can't really say this without being under extreme attack. And I experienced a bit of that last year because there is a certain demographic in reform who are very vitriolic and very, you're almost like, you know, when we see the, you know, the hard left, the real, the rabid left, and they come out and they literally, there are no lengths that they won't go to disparage and besmirch and assassinate someone's character. Well, there's an element of that as well in reform, you know. And if you're not on their side, they will literally just tear into you without reason.
I think they can sniff power, and I think when you can sniff power, then also your ugly side comes out. Can come out in certain people.
They can sniff whatever they like. It doesn't mean it's going to turn. Listen, I sniffed power, right? I sniffed power up until June the 3rd last year.
You were so close. You were so close. You know?
Well, we'd already won it. We'd literally already won it, and that's why. I mean, there's a lot of things that people don't quite understand, and it's quite intricate as well. There's there was a bit of there was a bit of a scandal on tendering district council, and some of the councillors who were avid anti-reformers who ended up becoming reformers and didn't want to know reform when it was in its inception and built, but only became reformers after it became popular. And they don't like me because I tell the truth, because I'm in this for the right reasons, well, what I feel are the right reasons. And a lot of people are in, particularly local politics, they're in it for kudos or status or influence or whatever it is. I'm in it for justice. That's all I'm in it for. I'm independently, financially independent. I don't really need money. I don't really need status. I've had a great career, a great life. That's not what it's about for me. It's about standing up and trying to get the best outcome for the residents and for the people. And that's how I got into it. I'm not a politician. I've never been a politician, but I've always stood up for what's right. And it's just become an extension of that. And that's how I got into politics in the first place. Yeah. And I've been called an idealist. I've been called all this. And that's why, you know, the local council and the local democracy in Clacton, some of them were old UKIPers and they knew Nigel personally. And, you know, I mean, I can talk about this at length because my hunch is that it changed on May the 28th last year the year before when Donald Trump was convicted and was convicted of and had to pay. He paid hush money to a porn star or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, and it became, he was convicted of that offence, and that was the time I believe that Nigel and Trump. People think Nigel and Trump are friends. They are not. Okay, Nigel walked away from Trump on that day. Okay, and I don't think Trump is the forgiving sort. You know, so when you see all of these things where Trump is doing something. He may have Boris Johnson next to him. He may have Liv Truss next to him, but he never has Nigel next to him. Yeah.
Well, also Trump keeps saying very complicated things about Keir Starmer. He's a very good guy at bringing people close to him who might be his enemies when he needs them and treating them and saying they're his friends. I've definitely noticed.
Cleverer. He's
Yeah,
far
yeah.
cleverer than people give him credit for. Now,
Yeah.
whether you like him or loathe him, you know, as a man, I'm not sure. I'm really, you know, I think there's vastly room for improvement as a person, as a man. But you know, you can't deny that what he's done is surprised a lot of people. You know, I was talking to a chap the other day, and he's an artist, and he was doing I said, what are you working on at the moment? And he was doing a representation of Trump. And I said, oh, what are you going to, like, you know, champion him getting the Nobel Peace Prize, for which he spat feathers. Obviously, he was fuming. And he said, no, just the opposite, just the opposite. I said, well, hold on a minute. Has it not brought about, is it not him being pivotal in bringing about this ceasefire between Israel and Hamas? Is it not him who's been pivotal about trying to get some dialogue going on in Ukraine? And do you know what I mean? And he's like, oh, yeah, but I mean, there really literally is. There's a whole swathe of society that no matter what he does, they're going to hate him, you know?
Yeah.
But if people are disappointed that there's a ceasefire and a burgeoning peace between Israel and Hamas, people are disappointed, literally disappointed that they're
Well,
killing
in the town I live, in the city I live, or near where I live, there was a march on the day of the ceasefire saying, "Stop the ceasefire, stop Trump ceasefire, globalize the Intifada." Right?
It's
crazy.
absolutely, and you know what? We know, right? We all know this. If it was, you know, it never would be. But if it was, say, someone like Keir Starmer, someone on the left, shall we say, to the left side of politics, who had negotiated anything and could claim credit for it, they'd be out championing it and everything else. It's so cynical. It's literally cynical, and this is the problem with politics today: the identity politics and the polarization. You know, it's literally it is divide and conquer, and people buy into it. That's why it's very important. And I've had discussions with Floss and Ben about this. And you will remember, you was up in Newcastle as well, when Ben said, you know, we come in peace. You know, we're about peace, we're about love and all that. And we have to be careful, or I have to be careful, because I went through it all, and you know, and I don't suffer fools anymore. You know, if someone attacks me, I'll give as good as I get. But I have to be a bit careful, because, you know, that's not really the way we want to go. We don't want to just denigrate and attack. We want to just promote our own policies and let them stand up to scrutiny. And that's what it's about, because reform cannot stand up to scrutiny. Nigel Farage certainly cannot stand up to scrutiny. And I have absolute faith that 100% faith, is no doubt in my mind, that Ben does stand up to scrutiny. Howard Cox does stand up to scrutiny. And a lot of the people I met and know do stand up to scrutiny. So,
there's one thing I was going to bring up, Anthony. We're obviously here as an independent voice for the supporters and members. There's a couple of things, actually. Point number one is, there's a lot of people who've come over to Advance, obviously from Reform, like yourself, and all across the country, who've got a little bit of experience in politics to some level. But there's also all of these new supporters that have joined Advance, a lot of them off the back of Tommy Robinson supporting the party, which probably includes me, because I think the party just needed that little extra edge. I'm also a massive Elon Musk fan as well. But I think the party needs to make sure that the people who are new to politics, who want to get involved, and in any way, whether it's at home, mass emailing or whatever you're doing, if you're homebound, or anybody else who wants to get involved, is kind of not left behind by the people who've got that little bit more political experience. And that political experience that you've got, we're trying to create like a cheat sheet here and independently, where we can people have the answers to questions, or a way of dealing with questions. So we're trying to have like a crowd-funded members and supporters kind of idea, which hopefully will help the party. We've come up with some great ideas here tonight. That's kind of where we're coming from. So we just don't want to see the members, supporters being left behind, and particularly the people who come over from Tommy, because there's the danger as well that they could at some point be seen as a problem. We want everybody to be included, and everyone's voice voice to be heard. And when I shook Howard's hand at the event, Howard said to me, "You, me," and he pointed to Ben. We're all on the same level. We're all members. We've got different roles to play,
Absolutely.
and that's what I really really liked. And the reason I think for this space and my work with my co-hosts here is to make sure that that ethos really comes through from the party. And even if we're outside and we're an independent group of supporters, that voice is really kind of heard
The
really
thing is,
loudly.
this is what I'm trying to convey, and this is where the ethos is. Everybody in advance is advance. That's it. Yeah. Everybody in advance has a right to input. Everybody in advance has a right to opinion. Everybody in advance will shape advance as it goes on. And you are absolutely right. The first thing we have to get right is the communication, the transparency, the communication. We are something different, and we will be something different. We are all about the members. We are all about, and there are no silly questions. There are no silly suggestions. They may not be taken up. They may not be put into policy, but that doesn't mean that you can't say them. And everything is listened to. Everything is considered. Literally everything.
That's what we're trying to do. And I think what we're trying to do here with our space is we're going to hopefully, probably until you've got some of these regional launches out of the way, we're going to try and put the information. There's some big concepts that we've got here that are still swimming around, at least in my head, and some great ideas that have come up from everybody that's come. We're going to try and put them together in a presentation to share with the party properly, maybe in a few weeks when these regional launches have happened and there's a little bit more space there. There's some great ideas that have kind of come through.
These things are invaluable. These ideas, these communications and getting people together, and so that's how a party is built. That's how a movement is built. That's how we win. That's how we take our country back. That's how we, that's how we do it. That's how we will do it. Because, honesty, openness, transparency, equality, all of these things, it's quite right that every member has a say in Advance UK. Ben's always espoused this, and this was the problem with the former party. It was promised to go democratic, but it never did, and it never will. It never will whilst the structure of the party or the leadership of the party is there at the moment. It never will become democratic because, unfortunately, it's not in the mould of the leader. It's not in the character of the leader for things. He keeps a tight rein, and free speech or anything outside the box or even anything opposing the standard rolled out rhetoric. Anything that questions it or opposes it is immediately shut down on, and you will find yourself bounced out the party for no reason, just for asking a question. Exactly.
I think I said earlier, Anthony, that when Advance UK does go to an election and it has its policies out, I'm going to disagree with 20% of them. I'm going to be unhappy with some of the others that they've gone too far, haven't gone far enough. But that's fine, because we should be a party where everybody can have their own unique viewpoint. But at the end of the day, we're all coming together for the common good, and where those differences are tolerated. I know me and Pete disagree on one or two things. I think that's what's great about Advance is it's a party where you can have political differences of opinion, but you can still come together and work together and organise together and be active together.
You're quite right. That is the only way it can work. It is basically it's going to be the truest form of democracy that we can have. Yeah. It's the only way it can work. It's got to be transparent. It's got to be accountable. It's got to be representative. It's got to be democratic to truly be a party of the people. And that's what we will be. We will not be left. We will not be right. We will be a party of the people, party of the majority. Of course, mainstream media and political analysts can identify our policies and go, well, that's what we consider an extreme right policy. It doesn't matter whether it's a right policy because it's the correct policy. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's why
Yeah.
Ben is you know, Ben's talking a lot about, you know, we've got to get away from this left and right, this divisive left and right. It's about what is good for the country. It's about Britain. It's about Britain's people. It's about Britain's ambitions. It's about how people feel. It's about the country that we want, the country that we want to shape, the country that we want to leave to the generations after us. That's what it's about.
Yeah, exactly. I only really sort of became maybe a bit more. I've always been interested in politics, and I've always, for some reason, I've followed the American political system for the last 10 years, simply because, obviously I'm a Trump supporter, but at least I had a chance of winning, right?
Yeah.
So, so when Trump won, I was kind of ecstatic, and I haven't really felt that we've had a win in Britain for a very, very long period of time. So, but hopefully things are going to change, yeah, at some point.
The one thing that we haven't, and I've identified this for quite a long time, and and knowing a few of the protagonists involved and knowing their characters, the one thing that we need and that we have been sorely lacking is a unifying character. Okay, a unifying character that can, with broad appeal, that will not divide, will actually unify. Well, and if you listen to Ben, yeah, he's a unifying character. He talks about Nick Tenconi and he talks about other people, and he said, like, you'll be more than welcome. We are far much more in common than we do
Yeah.
opposed. And it's an inviting, inclusive. And there's an old psychological adage. You know what I do? Yeah. So there's an old psychological adage, and it basically, if you're going to make any change, you're far more likely to succeed if you include the people around you in that change. For example, say, you're a smoker and all your friends are smokers. And all of a sudden you wake up one morning and you decide you're going to give up smoking, but you don't tell anyone. And then you go down the pub or you go to a restaurant and all your pals go out for a cigarette and you go, no, I'm not smoking. Now, the natural inclination in the human psyche is like, well, why are they not smoking? And all of a sudden they'll interpret it to themselves. And they'll be like giving you a fag. Oh, do you want a fag? Go and have a fag. What? And it's almost like, what do you think? You're better than us. But if you was to ask all those people, look, I really need to give up smoking. It's making me ill. It's costing me a fortune. I can't afford to smoke anymore. I need your help. Please help me give up smoking. They are not going to give you a cigarette. They're going to be included in the process of change. And that's what it's about. Now, it sounds very simple, but there are very few people in public political life who can do that. And the only person that I know who can do that is Ben Habib. And I've seen a lot of people who make an absolute living out of division and consolidating their little fiefdom and rising to power. But there's a limited amount of power. We need to bring the whole country with us to save this country, and that's why I have a lot of time for Ben and Howard. Howard's a great guy as well. A lot of these people are fantastic. They really are.
Yeah, I know. I obviously know Howard from Paul Thorpe's show, which I think for a lot of people, including myself, kept us sane following what happened a year ago after that. And it was a complete disappointment where it was an absolute gut wrench when he stopped doing the political stuff in February or somewhere when he started getting threatened. But it's good to see him kind of back on it. He does what he does really well. I think we're trying to be here. We're not trying to be Paul Thorpe on X, but we're trying to have that kind of genial discussion, bring ideas to the table, be a voice outside the party for the supporters to kind of grow around.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and we need that. And and I consider myself the same. We are the same. I consider myself the same. People only know me because I stood in Clacton and I dared to have the audacity to call Farage out. That's why people know me. But I am you, you are me, and everybody in this space we're all the same. So people look at me and people go, right, what we're going to do, and it's like, the only reason I'm back into it, because I stepped away from politics, the only reason I'm back into it, and I've said this publicly, there is only one way I would have ever come back into politics, and that was if Ben asked me. Do you know what I mean? Because I can back that man 100%.
Yeah, and I think Anthony, obviously, as the party grows, as Advance UK grows, there are going to be little rivalries that in the
Yeah.
structure, all that kind of stuff is going to happen on the inside. But I think we want to be this kind of beacon out here for keeping that flame burning, that kind of original flame burning, and if need be, kind of being that gentle, critical friend
No,
as
listen,
well.
criticism, constructive criticism
Yeah.
is welcome.
Yeah.
Disagreement is welcome. You know,
Yeah.
scrutiny is welcome. You know, how are we going to be what we profess to want to be if we can't stand up to any of that?
Exactly.
And that
Exactly.
includes you and I. That includes everybody.
Well, mostly
know?
so far, the criticism it's been on the gentle side, and it's born out of
Yeah.
frustration.
Well, I understand the
and that type of
frustration
thing.
is that, yeah, I understand. I mean, you know, I'm frustrated as well. I understand that we have to jump through certain hoops and we cannot, you know, it's like fighting with one hand tied behind your back. But we have to be, I mean, I heard your question, and I think at the root of your question is that the momentum is with us. How can we harness it before it dampens down? And
Exactly. I didn't get my full question out. My because Ben interrupted
I got
me.
the gist. I got the gist, and
He was very reluctant to take my question because
yeah.
I don't think he knew me, and I'm you know, I've got kind of very, very long hair, and I could be the from the other side basically. But the full question was exactly that. It was you've got all of these new media here, which is fantastic. There's this electric atmosphere here, but this isn't going to last. We need to capture this momentum now, bottle it, and really push forward. And I was about to say, after this event is finished, is there going to be a room set aside so all of us here who want to stay behind can come and volunteer, make a list of all of our skills? I met a guy there he is a £500,000 a year tech guy, but he was prepared to give up his job and take up fantastically reduced salary or to help out for free. But I remember I saw him remonstrating with Floss about this. He wanted her to take his number to be contacted, and I think the answer was very much just fill in the form on the website. So he has got quite disillusioned with it. So there's a lot of us there who really wanted to help out, and we ended up sitting I gathered a lot of people together and hung on to some other people. We were sitting in a pub at the end of the day, sort of until 5 a.m. Some of us just putting ideas on paper. You know,
and listen, please, we need you. Yeah, it's all about you. You are the people. We are the people. So, you know, please understand that a lot of this, and you know, and I listen. I'm speaking only from a little bit of experience, but you know, that was a bit of a mad thing on at Newcastle. You've got to remember that was only pulled together within 48 hours. All of a sudden, there was security because there was a lot of different types of characters roaming about, and you know, and it was all sort of pulled together in and it was pulled together very well. I'm sure you'll admit, but it was pulled together at a last minute and everything else. But normally, Ben is one of the most accessible people you will meet, and you know, it was. I get you. It was a little bit. I mean, even I didn't get a chance to speak to Ben. And I've known Ben for a few years. I know Floss and all that, but I could see what was happening. And there was a lot of people there. People, you remember this, people were queuing up to talk to him afterwards. And his security kept going, we've got to go. And he was like, hold on. And in the end, you know, but that is just how it was on that launch. Every time.
It was a great event. I think all three of us were there, actually. That's how I met Pete, because Pete was there. And Zoe must have brushed past my soda multiple times, but I didn't know her. No, I kind of know her at that point. Pete, Zoe, do you want to come in? I feel I've just hogged Anthony here, and I'm sure you guys have got a few things to say there.
Go, Zoe.
Oh, no. Obviously, we've exchanged a few texts, Anthony. I do want to pick your brains, actually, how to go from. I had my first meeting last week, which was great, but it was. I mean, there were really good people that came, but it's how you take it to the next level. You know, obviously, I'm a bit concerned. I'm a lone wolf in my area. I'm waiting for the Leeds meet to happen on the 8th of November. So then hopefully I can get to meet a few more people and see how it's organized. But if I just kind of put my name out there on Facebook or whatever, it would be just like, I feel like I'm being thrown to the wolves a little bit. So it's having.
Well, let me assure you of something. Everybody I've listened to this evening, and everybody I listen to, we all have the resources we need to build this. When I first got into this, I had no idea what I was doing. And you find out, and we all have the resources to build it. But the very first thing is to build up a network of communication of people, like-minded people who are interested. And then that's when you get, once you get a few people together who, are on the same page, that's how it builds. It literally takes its own momentum from there. I started with nothing. I started on my own. People had never even heard of the party when I started it. Yeah, never heard of the party, and you'd say, they go, who are they? Who are Reform? And that's how you started. And you start to talk to people and you start to, and then, oh, yeah, well, right, okay, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden it grows and you get 2 or 3 people together and then you get 5 or 6 people together and very, very quickly it grows. Yeah, because people talk to people. So once you've got that grand, even if it's like 10 or 20 people, within about 3 months, we had a logistics person. We had people building websites. We had people making QR codes, and which was a new one on me. I didn't even know what a QR code was. But of course, they're everywhere now. I know that. But and this is why I'm infused by listening to the people on tonight and on other platforms as well, because the wealth of knowledge is out there.
Yeah.
The wealth of knowledge to create what we need to create is out there.
The will as well. The will is here, isn't it? As well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Zoe, I've got absolutely no doubt that you are going to be a pivotal part in a big group in your area. Yeah. And you'll be surprised how quickly it goes, because people are crying out. We are at the zeitgeist at the moment, and people are crying out, and people are realizing, and we don't have to do anything as far as Nigel Farage goes, because he will do it himself. He will do it. He's that type of character. His political hubris, his ego stance, his Machiavellian nature. He will do it himself. People will see it. Yeah, and the party, the party will go through, as I believe it was alluded to earlier, it will go through some sort of metamorphosis, and out of that we don't know what's going to come. But at the moment, we don't care, because we have the chance to build something that always should have been. Until
could I just very quickly jump in there? There's the thoughts jump into my head, and I'm going to lose it. One thing I've noticed is obviously Nigel. He's a charismatic leader, so people are looking for a charismatic leader to get them out of trouble. Same with Trump.
Absolutely.
Ben obviously is a leader of the party, and there's been a lot of Ben for 10, Ben for 10. My view is that people are looking for a leader to take them out of despair, but the danger with that is they expect Ben to do all the hard lifting, or the party to do all the hard lifting, and the leader really is yourself. And I think that message has to come over a lot stronger, maybe even a little bit of a pushback, and say, well, you are the leaders. Each of you is a leader in this party. You need to go out there and do things and make things happen. It's not down to Ben to come up with a great policy, or the people in the college. And I think that if the party kind of listens to that kind of concept a little bit more, then you could really be onto something. Because at the moment, the way people see politics, they're still looking at the leader to lead, and they're the followers. And I think Advance has got the opportunity to be the one party. His unique selling point is that it's the people who are leading the party and driving the party forward. That's what we're trying to do.
You've just touched on a fantastic point there. We are all leaders of the party. Ben, put it this way, Ben is like the overseer chairperson, yeah? Because he's the guy with a lot of experience. But as far as the party goes, we are all the leaders of the party, and that's how it should be, and that's how it will be, I'm pretty sure, going forward. But of course, you do need organisation, and you do need structure, and you do, I mean, I haven't even got a title at the moment, but people are looking at me and go, Tone, what we doing here? What we doing there? And all that. And I'm like, but this is how it grows. You will find, one thing I know about Nigel is he cannot lead. He cannot lead. He cannot make a decision. He cannot galvanize leadership. He gets followers, and people worship him and idolize him, but there's a problem with that. Because when you put someone on a pedestal, the higher you put them on that pedestal, the further they have to fall.
Hmm.
Yeah. So with his people know, and I've said this publicly, he's very ambiguous with the truth. The truth for him is what he sees it on any particular day. Well, of course, the truth is not that, and people will realise that. And you know, he will do his own job. He will do our job he will do it for us. I'm sure of it. I'm absolutely sure of it.
Mm.
So, you know, but everybody needs to understand, okay, we need guidance, but we will learn to do it ourselves. And yeah, we will make mistakes and we will need advice, particularly like, you know, as I said to you earlier, you know, about the GDPR stuff and everything else and licenses you need if you're going to take, you know, numbers and collate them and put them on whatever. But you can do that informally for now.
Mm.
You can do that informally.
We've got like a web media project we're trying to get through the system. It's kind of clogged up somewhere in the advanced system, but we're trying to get that through. It's going to be completely independent, and I just want to get out there tomorrow and get it started because it's an independent kind of online place where we can just, you know, to complement the space really, but it's not connected to the party in any kind of way. So that's something that we're trying to push through, and that could grow into something quite special as well. Because again, it's outside the party. There's kind of that plausible deniability if somebody says something stupid, which they won't, because I would be all over it anyway. And I'm coming from that positive message angle. There's a lot of people out there dealing very well with all the negative stuff that's happening, and we want to be all about solutions and bringing people together.
Absolutely, you know? Live in the solution, not the problem. Absolutely, you're absolutely right, and the solutions are there. You know, you see, what people don't understand is all of the Facebook groups and all of these at the moment are all independent because nothing. We you know, the only three that are recognised is the test groups for the, you know, the Electoral Commission, etc., etc. Everything else is just part of an independent, you know, aspiration because you need that it will all be brought together eventually. It literally will all be brought together eventually, but we have to jump through hoops, as I understand it, first and do things a certain way first, because as we know, we are living in vastly changing political times, vastly changing, excuse me, legal times. And what was acceptable even just 3 years ago is now not acceptable. And we know that the politics of this country is descended even further. You know, the concept like the Nolan principles disappeared years ago. Yeah, about, you know, conduct in public life and everything else. It's all gone, and it's just the further we sink, there seems to be someone who comes along and takes it even further. That's why we have this divisive politics. That's why we have the hateful rhetoric, and we have you're either with us or against us. You know, and there is no, you know, balanced discourse. There is no, you know, there is no sort of debate about it. It's like, no. You see a left, you know, so you see someone who's considered, you know, they label us all now far right, but say you see, someone who's been on one of Tommy's marches, and then you see someone who's from Antifa. Now, if you put them both in the same room, they cannot have a talk. They literally scream at each other. Literally scream at each other. It's about who shouts the loudest and who can shout each other down. Yeah, and then they get angry, and it ups the ante and it ramps it up. That's not the way to continue. It cannot continue like that, because what happens is it just descends into hate and spite and vengeful. You know, our message, you know this is why you're interested in advance. This is why everybody on here is interested in advance, because our message is a message of unity and for Britain and for the people of Britain. That's all we're interested in.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony, after the sorry for keep interrupting you, but after the my mind is whizzing around. After the launch, I ended up in Weatherspoons with some GB PAC people from Leicester and a couple of candidates from Leicester, and Richard Shaw was there, and there was some students there, one of whom was Antifa, who'd been out getting involved in fights with people from UKIP that day. He was 18 and he was absolutely radicalized. They were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. I think he even said himself that that he would do something similar if he thought it would make the country better. But I actually saw in this guy, because I work with a lot of young people, I saw in this guy somebody who was absolutely, truly cared. It was bizarre. I suddenly saw this guy really genuinely cared.
He
just
had
been
genuine conviction. Yeah, absolutely.
But he genuinely cared, and I got speaking to him, and he was full of all sorts of wrong statements and wrong facts and figures and all sorts of arguments that he's been kind of brainwashed with. But he genuinely cared. So I tried to find kind of common ground with them. I thought we'd find common ground in music because I'm a music guy, but he likes the kneecap people, so we couldn't find any common ground there. But I think I kind of talked to him and understood him and even agreed with him on one or two things. And we ended up not getting into that big argument. And he probably left with a little bit of, I don't know, thinking that maybe we're not as bad as we think. But and that's what we need to do. Is more dialogue.
Absolutely.
There are some people out there who are that he was somebody who was simply brainwashed beyond the. But there's other people out there that know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and you can't talk to them. But it was interesting how just by speaking to these people who were all against us, we ended up agreeing on some things and having a conversation. And I think I'd like to see more of that really going forward. Yeah.
Well, that's how it's got to happen. You know, we need to bring it back from the brink, from this diatribe of drivel and hate that goes between, you know, it's not black and white. It's never been black and white. Yeah. It's never been about race. It's about what is best for this country. Yeah. Now, I happen to believe that as a nation state, we should be autonomous. Now, people may disagree with that, and they may disagree, but, you know, at the end of the day, if someone was to come and say to you, right, now you're going to be a servant of me, we would all rebel against that. We would all say, no, I'm a free person. And it's the same thing for this country.
Yeah, so Pete, do you want to come in?
Sorry, my mic wasn't working. Yeah, so just look at that big conversation digest. It's very important that people are brought together. I think it's one of the things I've spouted for so long, that we all need to finally unite to the common ground of doing the right thing by the people of the whole nation. And taking Northern Ireland into account is very important because they've been left behind so many years and given all the trouble. And then you see how Wales has been separated over the last 10 20 years, and the problems they've gone through there with their government. So unity is the biggest aspect of success, without a doubt. And the people that are supporting Advance, they all have, like from the ones I've spoken to anyway, they've all had good character. They're all very positive. They're all very helpful. And there doesn't seem to be this sort of negative connotation that you're getting from a lot of other people. So as long as we still talk out the differences rather than scream and shout, we should prevail in the end. So I still stick with my upbeat, we will win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe you're right. I believe, you know, if you was at the Newcastle, you know, I think the guy's name is Taylor, Richard Taylor, is it? The Welsh chap.
Yeah.
And he quoted the Martin Luther King, you know, we will get there. I may not get there with you, but we will get there. And I firmly believe that, because the alternative doesn't bear thinking about. I will not allow myself to think about the alternative, because, you know, people say to me, ain't you had enough? What you went through and all that, ain't you had enough? And I just say to them, look, at the end of the day, as long as there's breath in my body, I will always stand up for what's right for this country. This country has given the world everything. Everything that's good. All right, you know, all countries and all former empires and all that, we can go back centuries and centuries and say, oh, this, that, and everything else. But predominantly, we have given this country civilization. We've given this world civilization, you know, rule of law, parliamentary democracy, all of this stuff, you know, that we've exported to the world. You know, even the European Court of Human Rights was predominantly set up by this country. Yeah. You know, all right, it's been hijacked, as we know, but, you know, all the things that were good about this country are now not even talked about. I mean, one of the contentions was yesterday. It was, you know, it was Trafalgar Day yesterday. You know, most people are aware it was Trafalgar Day yesterday. People of our like are aware that it was Trafalgar Day. Now, if you ask a kid, you know, a local child in Clacton at 9 years old, you know, do you know about Admiral Nelson? Do you know about? They have no idea. Literally no idea.
No, it's been
Yeah,
out of the
it's,
school systems for a long time, but it's sort of I hate keep bringing them up, but the Fabian Society, but
yeah,
they've infiltrated education, universities. That's why they're
yeah,
so terrible at the minute. But the whole point was, it's easier to control the populace. I said this at the start. It's easier to control the
yeah,
populace through a new narrative if you take away their past and their heritage. So that's why they're doing it. Everything is
yeah,
by design. Everything is deliberate, and it's such a shame because, as you said, and I've banged on being a history guy, we gave so much to the world, and
yeah.
it wasn't this terrible colonialism thing that everyone seems to think, because a lot of the countries we did pull out of didn't do well after.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you look at, well, the evidence is there, but you see, the thing is to quote that narrative and to point that out that evidence. This is why I like the guy. Who's the guy who wears the dicky bow tie? What's his
yeah,
name?
he's brilliant, and yeah, Rafe.
Rafe.
Yeah,
Oh, listen. You listen to that guy, and you know, even like people like Douglas Murray and people like Rafe, these people, you know, are absolutely so eloquent and so on point with what they say and how they say it. It's undeniable. You're like, oh yeah, you know, and these are the sort of people. And of course, you know, Rafe was saying on his latest thing that he's been basically shut down now. He's been cancelled, as they call it, you know. But the more people there are like us, the more people who refuse to be cancelled. They tried to cancel me in March. When I left politics and stepped away, I went back into my career, which is a psychotherapist. Okay, so I work in a quite prestigious environment in a private hospital as the lead male psychotherapist, and unfortunately, you know, some industries have more left than right. Some industries are balanced. Some industries are. So you can imagine if you're in a city and you're of a capitalist mindset and you work for an American bank, the propensity is more to be sort of centre right or right. So if you're in a caring profession or whatever, the propensity, unfortunately, is more to be centre left to left. So, you know, and the politics stuff came out, and it was literally an orchestrated campaign to publicise some of the nefarious articles that Tortoise had published about me, which were blatantly untrue, and it was all spread around management and everything else. So I had to address it. I had to address this situation, and I said, "Look, if you want to cancel me, that's absolutely fine, but I have done nothing wrong. I have done nothing illegal. I hold certain views that are, as far as I'm concerned, are inclusive and a benefit for the country and benefit for the people." Yeah, and in the end, I got a promotion. Yeah, but I had to stand up and address the whole hospital. They tried to cancel me. There were factions in that place who wanted me cancelled because of my political views, not to do with how good I was at my job or whatever. And we have to have the courage to stand up to these people. You know, as I said earlier, I alluded to earlier. Fortunately, I'm in a position where I don't have to take any shit. I am reasonably financially secure, etc. So I don't really have. So I can have the courage of my convictions. I understand that other people perhaps have to play it a bit carefully, but we have to have the courage of our convictions. Otherwise, nothing is ever going to change.
Yeah, 100%. I keep saying, if you don't stand up and be counted now, you'll lose the chance to do so in the future. It's a standard.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was made redundant 4 months back. I'm a hotel manager. I'm struggling to get back into a new place. And I've dedicated a lot of my YouTube footage now either to exposing the situation of the world, documenting all the events that are going on, but more so, every post I do, every tag I make, it's Advance UK. It's that kind of incessant promotion because it's the right thing to do. So, you know, like you say, you're well secured. I lost everything. So I'm still there in the public eye making videos.
Let me just interrupt you. Let me just interrupt you there. A lot of my story is out there because when I founded a charity in Clacton a few years ago, they done a write-up about the charity. Now, my background is, and everybody knows this, it's all in the public domain. I'm an addict, okay? I've been 25 years clean and sober, but I lost everything. I destroyed my life. I destroyed myself. I ended up homeless. And this is all in the public domain. It's all been written about. It's all been exposed. So I have no skeletons in my closet, yeah? That's who I am. And it's, you know, there is nothing about me that anyone can publish that I can't stand up and go, yeah, and what?
Yeah.
I can defend absolutely everything that I say. Now, they don't like it, but, you know, this thing that I had labelled at me about Islamophobia, you know, for a start, you know, don't get me started on that connotation and that word, Islamophobia. You know, we all know where it came from. We all know what it means. And it's absolute rubbish. Any criticism of the misogyny, any criticism of the anti-democracy, any criticism of fanaticism is labelled as Islamophobia. And all it does is shuts down debate. Now, we have to be brave enough to counteract that. We have to be brave enough to formulate our arguments and say, hold on a minute, you know, have you ever heard Douglas Murray? I mean, the man is a hero of mine. If you've ever heard Douglas Murray talk about Islam and Islamophobia, he literally just picks it apart, and it's unarguable. It's irrefutable. You listen.
Yeah, Andy, I was just jumping out. The sad thing there is I've listened to Douglas Murray and other people, and even Rupert Lowe, and they've said things that are much harder edged than I've ever heard Tommy Robinson say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's Tommy Robinson whose life has really been. They've gone after Tommy Robinson, and I can't but not believe it's because of the interest in the gangs. And also, he's a working class guy, so they can go for him and make him into the sort of
Well,
bogey.
they've demonised.
They've
literally demonised him, and that's why I understand. You know, has anybody ever seen? Probably people have now, but when he comes off stage in Israel, and the Channel 4 reporter, I think her name is Hilul, interview, and he said, well, where are you from, Channel 4 and all that, and you know, and people are going, why is he going on a rant? I understand exactly why he's going on a rant. Can you imagine what that man has been through? Now, I understand he's bullshit, and I understand he's not perfect and everything else, and I understand he bounces about and all that, but you know, at the end of the day, he's being persecuted by the state. He literally is, and that was why I was so proud of Ben when he done that. When he challenged Kemi Badenoch and Nigel Farage to literally, when Tommy was appearing in court he was stopped under anti-terrorism legislation, and you know, it's been adjourned now, I think, or whatever. But Ben challenged Kemi Badenoch and Nigel Farage to come out and say, this is wrong. This man is being victimised by the state. He's being, you know, it's political gerrymandering of the justice system, etc., etc. And I think it was a masterstroke, an absolute masterstroke. And of course, they haven't come out and said anything because they're too scared. They're frightened. They're frightened of public opinion. But most politics, right? When you look at the Westminster bubble, they are 10 years behind whatever the public opinion is. They are literally 10 years behind. Yeah. And we know what public opinion is. And that's why, as soon as Richard Tice said that lot, we have nothing to do with that lot. And see, the thing is, what Nigel Farage has against these people like Rupert Lowe, Ben Habib, Tommy Robinson, is because they could challenge him on the state of personality, popularity. That's all it is. Yeah, it's not about, you know, oh, he believes this and he believes that. He cannot have anybody around him who has a personality. He just can't. His ego cannot take it.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody in Reform who has a personality. To be honest, I'm really struggling to think who would be a candidate for leader if Nigel Farage disappeared. It's really hard to think of somebody. Even in Advance, you obviously got Richard Taylor, he's got a very charismatic personality.
Yeah.
You've got people around Advance who've got quite a bit of charisma, at least when they're on the media.
Yeah.
But it's a hard one to think of. Yeah.
Well, you see, the thing is, that's not by accident. That's by design.
Mm.
Yeah. When he took over the party, there was no way he was going to have anybody around him who didn't absolutely 100% toe the Nigel line. Yeah, he's surrounded by sycophants, and do you know what he was known as in the party when he first took it over? Do you know what he was known as? Do you know what his nickname was?
No,
God.
God.
God. That was what his nickname was. That was what he was locally known as within the hierarchy of the party. If God chooses to come back, if God chooses to come back and stand, I mean, and this is the problem. You see, I'm fortunate enough to have mixed with lots and lots of different people in my life, and you know, I've had a blessed life, really. And I don't revere anybody. I've spoken to lords, ladies, and gentlemen, and homeless people. I've been homeless myself, you know. So I've mixed with all sorts of people, and I don't revere anyone. People is people. That's it for me. You know, you are a person. That's it. I don't revere anyone. Nobody. You know, nobody is superior to anybody else. Nobody is inferior to anybody else. People do bad things. People do good things. But I speak as I find, and I treat everybody the same, or I try to. Yeah. And the thing is, as soon as Nigel gets a whiff that you don't revere him and you're not succumbing to his charm, or you know, you don't recognise he's a very, very intelligent guy, and if you don't recognise that, it rubs him up the wrong way. And he literally will just, and he won't do it himself. This is the thing. He will get someone else to do it for him because there's always plausible deniability on his side. And that's how he's got away with it for so long.
Yeah,
But the thing is,
while I've got, yeah, sorry, Andy, while I've got someone in the line who knows a little bit of the inside stuff,
yeah,
can you tell us a little bit more about Zia Youth? There's a lot of Zia Yusuf. A lot of us are really mystified as how he came to be owning half the party when there's other very wealthy donors and people involved in the party, and who he actually is, and what
yeah.
his game plan is.
Well, that is inexplicable. I remember the first time Zia Yusuf came on the scene. He walked into where Nigel was doing his press conference, because I constructed all the itinerary and everything else. And he walked in, this little fella, unassuming fella, walked in, and no one knew who he was. And then the next thing you know, well, obviously a lot happened in that time. That was a crazy month for me and a lot of people. And, you know, but all of a sudden Nigel gets elected and this chap becomes, you know, the chairman of the party. Now, nobody knows anything about him, but there are a lot of people in Nigel's circle. I mean, you know, people always see Nigel with a young blonde chap called George. Okay, now George, they call him Posh George. George Cottrell, his name is. Yeah, nice fella. I really like George. I've got a lot of time for George. But George is in the background because he's a convicted fraudster. That's why he's in the background. He's also a very rich young man, and he comes from aristocracy. And his mother donated £750,000 to the party. Yeah, there's lots.
Wow.
When you go into it and you look into it, you know, and George happens to be, I've got time for George because he's a polite young man and he's never been rude to me as some of the others were. But, you know, George has always been, you know, whatever he's done in his past, you know, he's probably been a bit of a scallywag and everything else. But when you look at the people he surrounds himself with, the people where the money's coming from, there is so much to come out, I'm sure, you know, and the Zia Yusuf thing, that really, really puzzles me, because this chap come from nowhere and all of a sudden he owns half the party, and then he steps back from the party over the burqa ban row. Do you remember that? Over the burqa ban row, and he was like, right, okay, I'm leaving and everything else. Now, everybody who goes against Nigel is literally excommunicated in any way, even if it's just in words or whatever. Now, this man wasn't excommunicated, and 2 days later, he was back in the party. So it's incredulous to me. I just don't understand it. But what I do understand is that I would not be surprised if it's a little bit murky somewhere along the line. I don't know what way. I don't know whether he's got something on him, or there's something behind the scenes, or I don't know. I don't know, but it's odd. It's very, very odd. So who is he, Yusuf? I don't know. I only met him in glance once. I've never spoken to the man. I've been next to him and wondered who he was, but I don't know much about him. I know that he set up some company. I know that he was a former Tory donor. But as far as that, and you know what? I watch him speak, and he speaks very, very eloquently. He's not flusterable, and he speaks very, very well. But my fear is, to be honest with you, we don't know nothing about this person. My fear is that if Reform, which is conceivable, if Reform do win the next election at a canter, and Nigel Farage is the leader of Reform, is instilled as Prime Minister, which he will be, there is nothing stopping him after a month or 2 months. You remember when Tony Blair stepped down and Gordon Brown took over? We've had it loads of times in this country where the leader of the party that people voted for resigns, and then someone who no one voted for ends up Prime Minister and leading the country. Well, of course, who would be next in line if Nigel Farage decided that's it, he's done what he wanted to do, he's had enough? Who's next in line?
It'd be Zia if he's obviously got a seat in Parliament. Yeah, I think if he's got a seat in Parliament.
Now we don't know nothing about this person. No one knows nothing about this person. All of a sudden, he's just come from nowhere. I mean, it's not even if I'm very dubious about Robert Jenrick, because Robert Jenrick 3 or 4 years ago was saying the exact opposite of what he's saying now. And that's why I have a lot of time for historically people like Tony Benn. I don't agree with any of his political views, but the man had integrity. The man had conviction. He had
convictions. Yeah.
He was a giant of a parliamentarian.
I'm often looking back to the days of Neil Kinnock, and I'm kind of thinking, he was probably the last British politician that might have had the interest of the working class Brits at heart. Can I just bring in some speakers? We've got Sarah who wants to speak. We've got Matt. Matt, if you've got a very quick question, then we can bring you up. Anthony, if you want to stay around in case some people want to mention something that you want to come in, that would be great. Matt?
Yeah, it's a very quick one. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say Anthony's completely right. Advance is different. That's what attracted me to them. Honesty, integrity and transparency. Like, they are the parties to bring back trust in the public and to make our own minds up based on clear information. With regards to your journo question, my advice to anyone dealing with journalists or the media, keep your own receipts in case they try and misrepresent you. If you're doing an interview, record it. We've seen today and over the past couple of days these survivors that are coming out and resigning and just absolutely blowing Jess Phillips up because they've got the receipts, they kept the proof.
She's got to go. I mean, the hypocrisy. It's just, it's
disgusting.
I learned that last year. I learned that 2 years ago, as far as journalists go. Now, if I'm going to speak to a journalist, I want it recorded, and I want. We both got to have a transcript. So there's always a recourse. And what I ask them is, I want to see exactly what you're going to publish before you publish. Now, there are some good journalists who will do that. But when you are, and when you are misquoted in print or in media, it's almost like, it's not just a betrayal. It's almost like they are, because there's an authority in journalism, that there's still an authority in journalism. People read things. People know me. People think they know me. And people have cast aspersions about me and said, oh, you're this, you're that. And they're like the other side of the country and never met me. I mean, I was told by someone in Australia exactly what my life was and what I stood for and everything else. And they never even met me. They don't know me. So you have to be very, very careful. And you're absolutely right. I record everything now. But I learned that the hard way.
Great. We're going to bring up Sarah next. If you unmute yourself, Sarah.
Yeah, hi. That's ironic because I'm an English girl that lives in Australia.
Oh, right, okay.
So it might be a bit off topic, but I've just been following this for so long. It's just the way things are over there. Obviously, we're not far behind here.
No, I know.
And you hear it's just more of a question, really. It's like I've been coming back every year the last few years, but since all this has really come about and it's got worse, the awareness has become very clear, isn't it, of what's going on?
Yeah.
And you get these things like poor Tommy
Yeah.
couldn't even go abroad, and now they're arresting people for everything.
Yeah.
My fear is if I come back, because I've been sticking my oar in and saying my piece of, you know, all these rapes and everything else that's going on in the UK and all these migrants, illegal migrants are getting and all that sort of stuff, opposed to the English people.
Yeah.
And what happens when I get to the airport when I come back? Well, they can arrest me.
Well,
It's all those sorts of things.
I'll answer it like this. If I'm still around and I haven't been arrested, then you'd probably be okay.
Yeah. So I'm sort of between the devil and the deep blue, because obviously I grew up there. I was there till I was about 32, and then I've
This
been
is
here
your
for 21
country.
years.
This is your
Yeah,
country. No matter what happens, you are a British
and it is,
citizen.
and it breaks my heart what's
Yeah.
happening. And then
Well,
I'm sort of buggered because
it breaks, literally, it breaks all of our hearts. You know, my children and my grandchildren, some of them have different political views and all that, and they look at me and they go, why are you? And some of my close friends who know me intimately, who've known me for years, you know, why are you doing this? You don't need this aggravation. And no, I don't need this aggravation. But what I do want to be able to do is look myself in the mirror and say, I tried.
exactly
No,
right, exactly
no
right.
matter
And
what happens.
my kids think I am mad. They go, Mum, you're reading too much into all this. And I went, no, you're not listening enough. You're not.
Yeah,
You need to be educated on what's happening, because
yeah,
things can take a bad turn if we're all being real about it.
yeah.
And you know, you got to be prepared for the worst. And they think,
Well,
like, you're being dramatic.
they already have taken. As far as I'm concerned, I never want to see this country becoming any more totalitarian than what it is now. It's horrifying. You know, the two-tier justice, the political interference, and you know, the labelling and the division. I've never seen this country like this, and it literally breaks my heart. It frightens us, and that's why I say the things I do, and I stand up and say the things I do, and nothing that I say has not been said by anybody else. But you know, the point was made well, quite rightly earlier. It depends what your station is in life. Now, I'm just a loudmouth upstart from Bethnal Green with no education. Yeah, so they still see me as, you know, as this working class street rat, and that's fine because you know that's who I am and that's where I come from. But that's not where
Yeah,
I am
but you
now.
know, you've got common sense, which a lot of these people obviously haven't, especially on the left and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
There's just
yeah.
no common sense. Everything you're seeing, it's like, see, I sit back here and I watched all of Tommy in Israel and all that sort of stuff, and he was generally, you could see, he was generally upset on a lot of the things
Yeah.
he went and
Well,
saw.
after we watched the videos, yeah, you could see that.
Yeah, and when he went to the Nova Festival and he was reading out the
Mm,
boards and stuff of these people,
mm,
and then you get some idiot saying, "Oh, you know, oh, he's been an actor, he's putting on the wall to us." And none of these people have done what he's done. He's gone to all these countries for years
yeah,
and gained knowledge.
yeah.
And this is what annoys me with Starmer and all that sort of thing, and they're covering all these gang rapes up and the grooming gangs and all that
Well,
stuff.
that's becoming very, very clear now. You know, and
Yeah,
one thing that tells you about the mood of this country, right, is when you know when Starmer came into power, and you know, I mean, Reform actually said that they would have an inquiry into the grooming gangs, and they dropped it. And Rupert, this is another reason for Rupert and Nigel's divergence, shall we say.
yeah,
And Rupert Lowe launched a campaign to raise money to have an independent inquiry. And that, I think, it sits around £700,000 at the moment within weeks. That tells me all I need to know, that the public has completely lost faith. Why would the public donate, you know, £750,000 to something that the government was going to do? Because they think that the government is not going to do it properly. They suspect that the government have too much to lose. They suspect that people in places of authority, you know, will be uncovered. They will not be exposed in the correct way. That's why
yeah,
people donated, and I had friends who donated £5,000 to that appeal. I'm telling you, the weight of opinion, and that's why, you know, the thing is, at the moment, we have, without being historical, without going back, I stood next to Nigel Farage on election night 2024. Okay. And when the result was read out, I watched him and I studied him. And bearing in mind, that's my business. That's what I do for a career. I look at people, I look at subtext, and I analyse. And he strolled across the floor, and I got a chill down my spine. And I just suddenly realised at that point that not only was the man dubious, and he was dangerous. That's
Yeah.
what I got. Yeah, and I like to describe him as Machiavellian in a Mosley-esque overcoat. Now, I'm not saying that he's racist, because I don't believe he is racist, but there is something really dangerous there.
Yeah.
Something really dangerous. Yeah, and
But go on.
sorry, carry on. No, you carry on.
It's just how long? I mean, like with this Starmer and Khan, and do you reckon they're still going to be around for the next election, or do you reckon they're going to be kicked out?
I don't think Starmer will be around. I don't think. I mean, I'm survived. He survived it. I'm surprised he survived this far. Now, there's a super injunction.
What scares me, have we got another few years? The way these immigrants are coming in all the time. And
well, this is. I remember having a conversation with Ben a couple of years ago, and Richard Tice, and other prominent people. And they said, "Oh, we're going for 2029." I said, "I fucking ain't going for 2029." I said, "We ain't got 2029 to wait." And they're like, "Oh, well, you can't expect too much, Tony." I said, "Watch me. And I said, "I will do it." And I did. Yeah. Because when 2029, it's happening now at such a rate that I honestly don't think this Parliament's going to go full term anyway. And I don't think it's because of public pressure. I think it will implode, because I think the Labour Party will tear itself apart. I think we will possibly, and I don't like saying this, but I think possibly we will hit some major financial crisis. I think what will happen is there will be an appeal to the IMF to bail us out, and the economy will go into, and that will just cause complete civil unrest. It will be like 10 times worse than the poll tax moment, and the government will dissolve. It would have to dissolve. And then we will put. I don't think it's going to go to full term. I hope I'm wrong, but so far, in my very limited and inexperienced view of politics, and I've been proved right. And if I can see it, literally.
Yeah, well, I'd sit there and I'd say these. I mean, because I've seen this coming for years.
Yeah.
But
what I don't
probably
want to
asking totally irrelevant questions is like with all these legal immigrants and because I've got my best friends over there that have got daughters, and I'm their auntie and all that sort of stuff, and it's really scary.
Yeah.
But you look into all that, and I don't know if any of you on the air at the moment have seen it. There was a voice recorded clip from one of the hotel owners.
Yes.
And 1, 2 in the morning or something, that she had all these crates delivered.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the army, and she got told not to look at them. And there was keys to each crate, and on a list of all the names of the refugees.
Yeah.
She said, "Bugger it." Well, one of her mates said, "They're in your property. You need to know what's in them." She looked, and one was hand grenades. I don't know how true it is, but one was hand grenades, and one was these guns or whatever. And well, if that's happening, they literally have brought in an army, and they're handing them the weapons. Where's that going to leave us?
Well, yeah, I've heard that, and I'm not sure I believe that. And one thing that I want to avoid, because that will literally it will be a disaster for this country. One thing that I want to avoid, and this is why it's so dangerous, is when
it is dangerous, because I'm sitting here thinking, my God, is this real? You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not 100% sure that is. I mean, there is obviously a lot of things that we don't know about, so I can't actually comment on that. But one thing that I've noticed is, whenever there's a political vacuum, and there is a political vacuum, someone steps forward and fills that vacuum. Now, it happened in the 1930s Germany, okay? And that was what, it was almost like that moment of clarity that I had when he walked past me on that election night. And, you know, and we were still sort of like reasonably talking, you know, it was like, hello, Tony, sort of thing and all that. And when he walked past me, I just, all this sort of like, there was a shiver down my spine. And it was like, all of a sudden, I realised the gravitas that if I'm right about this, we have to stop this person. We really have to stop him.
But how are we going to do that?
Well, we're
If
trying to do
Starmer's
it.
out, he's in.
Right. Well, this is the thing. But, you know, there are so many different connotations here. And people think that I'm against reform. I'm not against reform at all. Yeah. What I'm for is, you know, if a man can lie, if a man can cheat, if a man can stand up and fool many, many, many people and lie and literally about turn, you know, and be hypocritical and everything else, how on earth are they going to lead this country out of the problems that we are in? They will not. They will
No,
not.
they won't.
Right. So that's the first problem. The second problem is that the man is, you know, if we are talking about Nigel, my character assessment of Nigel, why not? Let's talk about it. You know, the man is incapable of seeing himself as anything other than the chosen one. Okay. Now, for me, that's dangerous. For me, that's very, very dangerous because he is convinced that whatever he does is right. Even I think that he can convince himself that the truth is subjective. Yeah. And I can think he can convince himself that he can do this for the greater good and do that for the greater good. Now, the problem I have with that, if you're going to stand up on conviction and you don't have conviction, then you have no business on standing on conviction. Yeah?
No.
Okay. So all of these people were saying to me, oh, yeah, but when they get in power, they'll do something else. They've got to say that to get elected and all that. That's bollocks as far as I'm concerned, right? If you can't tell the truth, yeah, then you're no better than Starmer. You're no better than any of the other wrong-uns, yeah? You're no better than any of them. Put to the country what you want. Put to the country what you're going to do. Have the courage of your convictions and let's see where the chips fall.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's just really worrying. Like sitting
It's
on this
worrying.
side of the road.
It's worrying, but you see, the thing is, what I want to avoid, and this is why I'm so glad that Ben decided to set up a party, is I want to avoid that situation where that political vacuum turns volatile. Okay, I want to avoid that.
Another question for you.
For me,
This is me. This is me being on my doomsday thing, panicking.
Go on.
Say, for instance, right, something happens and all the power's out.
Yeah.
And we've got us as a group together. How are we going to contact each other to know, you know, what we're doing next and how to be united and all that sort of stuff? So you sit there and you think about that because it could happen because the government's got a lot of pull, haven't they, in the establishment?
Well,
what they can do if they pull all this internet away and stuff.
You think that, right? But unfortunately, Britain, most services and most service providers in Britain are run by foreign companies, believe it or not. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So if that happened, it would be a worldwide thing rather than a UK thing, I think. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're aware, but there was an Amazon cloud outage in the UK on Monday, I believe it was.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
And a whole section, a lot of industries, computers went down and everything. No one could get on. And it was almost chaos. Yeah. But I mean, I believe these things need to happen. So as we realise that, hold on a minute, you know, it is more fragile than people realise.
Yeah, I think
it definitely is.
Yeah, I think Tommy said something similar in his big speech in Tel Aviv that the things that happened last October there and all of the stuff that's happened around the world, it kind of needed to happen to kind of wake wake
Yeah.
people up. Really, I just want to bring up Darren, who's been waiting a little bit here to come up and be a speaker. Darren, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Hi,
Darren.
Darren.
Hi,
Hello,
Darren.
everyone.
Hiya.
How are you, everyone?
Really
We're
good.
having a
Yeah,
good
we're
day,
good.
actually. There's not as many people here as we hoped for because there's been a big football match on.
Oh, it's
Oh.
finished
But
now. It's
Anthony,
finished now.
yeah, Anthony Mack has joined us. He's the guy who got out of was kind of elbowed out of the way so Nigel Farage could take the seat for reform in Clacton. So he's been a great guest tonight. He's been fantastic. So,
Oh,
Darren,
excellent.
yeah. What go for it, Darren.
Oh, I don't know what to say, to be honest with you. But, yes, I actually did like the way Ben has done the lunch. I did say to Zoe I would like to come, but I didn't come because due to my other half wasn't very well and other things. But it was very good watching that event. But I think Avance is doing very well at the moment. I don't know what else to say, but I did watch what Tony has said about what happened with Clapton as well. Yeah, I think Avance is going to get very, very brilliant in the end, but I'm not very good at speaking yet, but I will get there in the end.
Yeah, and you're down in is it Hereford you're down in, Darren?
It is, mate, yes.
It is, yeah. What's it like down there? It's been a long time since I was down there, and I remember it being this lovely, sleepy place with great restaurants and places to eat for food and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But it's very quiet most of the time. But when you're hearing, actually, be honest, you can actually hear some people talking about what's going on with the politics and all that lot. But obviously, when you're very want to engage, and then next week they walk away, and you're thinking, "How damn I missed that chance." But eventually we will get there. And we will get there. But other than that, that's about it. I'm going to let everyone else carry on. I'll probably will carry on doing it next time to give a bit more speaking.
Yeah, but are you out leafleting, and is that what you're doing, Darren?
What's that, mate?
Are you out been putting leaflets out? Is that how you've been doing things, or just talking to people
Oh
when you're?
no, I've actually been speaking more with the family members. I've got
Yeah,
some already have joined already.
Excellent.
I am talking to other also friends as well. But they just want to have a look and see what happens. But we'll get there in the end. And
yeah,
just with the leafleting, I have done a little bit around the areas
Excellent.
just to see what happens, what they see if the numbers will go up, which I don't see why not. But we will see.
yeah. Brilliant, great. Thanks, Darren, for coming up and
Thank you.
joining it. Yep,
Thank you,
yep,
Darren.
yeah.
No, no problem.
I
I'll
think
let
that's
you
Darren's
guys
first
carry
time on.
on, and if you need me to come up, I don't mind coming up. But it's very hard when you're trying to speak.
Mm.
Perfect. Sorry, Pete, shall I just hand over you guys for a little bit and have come in with what you want to say, or if there's anybody else you want to bring up and continue the discussion?
No, that's fine, mate. Carry on what you need to do, and then if you need me to come back up, I'll come back up.
Well, thanks for coming on. Nice to have you.
Oh, same as you, Pete. I did like your singing, mate. It was very interesting when you were giving that lovely singing. I thought that was brilliant,
We need to get Pete singing more on here, right? Okay.
Too expensive.
Yeah.
Go on,
Yes.
go on,
Yes.
Pete. You got the stage, mate. Let's go.
No, not.
Pete, remember that song I sent you the other night that I wrote? Okay, I was going to play it as the intro
Yeah.
today. I didn't because it's a bit.
No, sadly for me, retired as a singer, but it's something now and again. Just have a mess around, a bit of fun. I'm far more into the video creation and stuff these days. To be fair,
Yeah, because we want to try and bring Anthony's here. We want to try and bring a bit of culture, music, film. We want to bring a bit of entertainment as well to the party, because I think that's one thing that can attract voters in. It can attract younger people. I remember when Tommy did the rally last summer, it was Don Keith that came up and kind of just put on the YMCA song, which Donald Trump song, and the crowd kind of went wild, because before that there'd been a lot of speeches and videos, and it was okay, but then just a bit of music sometimes can just bring a crowd. So we need to get our own music going and everything like that, Yeah.
it adds a completely different atmosphere. I mean, when we're at the 13th of September, again, they had a bit more music going on. It wasn't just speeches, because as much as it's lovely to hear the most impactful people speak, it needs to be broken up. If you don't break it up, it can be a bit monotonous.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
You need music for all ages as well, so you get everyone in.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need to have music. You need to. I mean, every movement has its has always had its had its kind of music, really, hasn't it? So that's something I think that we can kind of see where that thread kind of goes. You know, and Pete, you can be the you can you know, I did say, Pete, can we start a band? I'll write the songs, you sing, and we need to get someone that can play guitar, play the drums, play the
Come on,
bass.
Pete, get singing, mate.
Yeah. Not today. I've been up since 6. Did a SIA security course all day, and then I've come straight on here. So I'm a bit.
How's that getting on?
I think I should be all right. We'll see. I'm sort of 3/4 of the way through. Finish on Tuesday, and then I'll be qualified licensed door person and security. So it's just a very useful thing to have in the world of hospitality.
Well done, you. Well done.
So
Yeah.
Can I be a pain, because I'm going to shoot off? I just wanted one quick question. How are we going with the advanced numbers? Are they going up all the time?
they are from reports so far. There's a man here that could probably answer slightly better.
I think he's just dropped off. I think the last number I heard was 38,000.
I'll say
I saw someone.
Oh, it's going up.
Yeah.
I saw someone post on. I think it was Nick Jones. He posted 39,000. I think, like an hour ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that'd
That's
be good if it is.
That's good.
It's
Yeah.
really increasing, because when you look across the different websites and things posted, because of people falling out with the whole idea of reform, there's only one alternative that's sensible, and that's advance. So they know that it's a good option, and then people start to see this stuff for themselves and say, you know, it's not for me. I'm going to go across. And I just think that's with the integrity, how Ben has acted. He's a voice of the people. He speaks like a normal person. He doesn't speak like a politician, and it's just really gaining traction now. But obviously, it's time. It's going to be time to really build it up, and we have to be. It's more down to what we can do to boost the profile, and we should get some good success over the next year.
I just think the numbers that were at the September 13th thing.
Yeah.
You think everyone would be rallying to just get this signed and, you know, join advanced.
It's a weird one, because I was one of the staff on that event. So I worked for Tommy Robinson. I was one of the stewards, and I stood there and I saw Ben's speech, and it was brilliant, and he got good crowd and laugh. But again, if you've got an established party that are very good at media, very good at communicating, it's not going to be the instant jump for people. You know, it's one of those things that they've got to see it for themselves as time goes on. And there's a lot of people that I speak to that are on the fence, and they want to see what's going to happen over the next few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I do agree.
I've got that. I get that.
It's just all we can do is put the right stuff out there, make sure that people are informed, and then they are seeing this stuff, and then eventually it'll just take one little moment, and they'll say, you know what, no, I'm done with that. I'm going to try this. Tommy's doing so much, and another big event planned for next year, which will be a lot bigger, and he sticks with advance. Over time, he's going to talk about them over time. I think it will just do a world of good for the membership increase.
Yeah.
Well, I know he's probably got millions of people telling him, but if you say, Tommy, you just tell him there's a Pommy in Australia that says you've made her be proud to be British again.
That's good to know, because you know that's the thing I've banged on about so long. We've been.
Yep.
Maybe Pete has his hand in that cast because he shook Tommy's hand last week, haven't you, Pete? Okay.
It's just that one lad from Luton can come so far, and you know how anyone can judge him. Like he's as if, you know, they're judging him saying he's this, he's that, he's a wife, but
yeah,
you don't go and risk yourself going into prison. You don't risk losing your family unless you can see there's a real problem that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And he's just shown such great conviction in just keeping on and keeping on. And you can see him when in Israel, there was one of the days he was talking, and you could see he's absolutely emotionally drained.
Yeah. He's constantly
But it was
for 20
absolutely,
years. And when you look at what he does and the people that I know that know him very, very well, he's a guy with great integrity. He's very determined, and he just saw a problem and it affected him directly. But he's got such good standing. He
yeah.
just can't let it go. So he's going to do this forever. I was at a court trial as well recently, the other week, and it was a bit of a shambles. It's embarrassing, and it's worse when you sit in.
I watched it. I watched it.
Yeah. So the police were giving the testimonies. Things didn't add up. They couldn't account for what they did with him for 45 minutes. It's it's laughable. State persecution has been brought up earlier, but mainstream media has been the force for the last 150 years. And it's very difficult for people to get out of the mindset to believe everything they're told. If the TV tells them, they jump. So that's the shame that the narrative has been so false on the guy. Yeah, he was a football hooligan in his days. He admits that. He admits all his mistakes. But 90% of his crimes, if not 95%, were all state enforced.
But do you know what, though? That's life experience, and not everyone was lucky enough to be born with a silver spoon in their mouth, were they?
No.
And go to Eton or all these Oxford or wherever, but he's a real person and he's totally transparent, tells you how it is. And if you don't like it, tough. But I'd rather have that any day than Starmer and whoever else we've got going on.
Well, exactly.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
class like that. It's a shame. But Tommy Robinson, his biggest problem wasn't necessarily his naughty boy days. He was ahead of his time, and because he identified a problem a decade before anyone sort of really prominently took it up, he became a threat to the state because the state were protecting the Islamic vote. But in the end, socialism cannot outdo the beliefs of Islam. So eventually, it will just turn nasty. But the guy was he was a prophet almost. So you got to have.
We've got Pauline Hanson over here that's been doing the same for the last 15, 16 years, and no one would listen to her.
Yeah.
And it's all happening. So now everybody's backing her on this side, but it's is it too late? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I was a bit surprised about Australia because it's always been a country every single winter I'm like, I'm going to go to Australia for 3 months and just drive around Australia. It's just everyone speaks English. It's really, really safe. You can sleep on the beach. It's all surfers. And then I've seen recent reports coming out of Australia that's painting a very kind of different picture.
Yeah, it is very different now, and I won't go to the city at all, and I don't really go out of my bubble. Really.
Yeah, I remember watching one video where there was I remember watching one video was a journalist girl who was going to a particular area, and she was warned that to not go into this area because she was just dressed in normal Western clothing, and they were like, no, you cannot go in here. It is a secure, you just can't go here. And she said, no, I'm just going to walk in. And she walked into this area, bustling area, and then I think the police came and arrested her and dragged her out. And it was like she was modestly dressed as in Western clothing, but it wasn't safe for her to go in there. It would into this area, which would look like a very bustling community. And that was, I think it was Melbourne. I think it was or something.
It's
Maybe
probably
it was Sydney,
Melbourne.
but yeah,
Probably Melbourne.
Yeah.
There's bad everywhere, but I was in the UK July, August this year, and I was sitting in the car with one of my mates and a partner, and he's telling me, like, her son-in-law that, because they want to move to Australia, and he was saying, it's brilliant over there, if I didn't have all my kids here, I'd go there. And I said, Graham, it's not as good as you think it is, mate. He said, well, it's not as bad as it is here. And I said, I'm telling you, we're not far behind you. And he didn't believe me, and now it's all coming out. So anyone who wants a sunny holiday, I don't know, just find somewhere else for the moment. It's not all it's cracked up to be.
Well, America's looking increasingly good. We're probably going to need to start wrapping this space up, so I could be here all night, but I know Zoe, you've got a life. Pete, you've got a life.
My birthday.
So is there anybody else who wants to put their hand up quickly? Here's the last, anything else to say? If not, we might.
Can I just come in there? Sorry, I
Yeah.
dropped off the face of the bloody earth there.
All right.
I didn't expect to speak on the space, and the phone ran out of battery. So, you know, I apologise for that. And as I told you, I'm a technical Luddite. I really apologise for that, and that's not the way I like to end any conversation. But listen, if anybody wants to ask me anything, if anybody wants to talk to me about anything, you know, you're more than welcome, and I will answer all questions as honestly and openly as I can. Well, I will answer all questions openly and honestly. Okay?
Yeah, anybody here that
Pleasure.
wants to ask Anthony anything, please put your hand up now. Please ask to become a speaker. And Anthony, is there any way we could, is it Anthony or Tony? Should I just call you Tony, or is it?
Call me Tony. That's what everyone calls me.
Tony. Yeah, I remember Bethnal Green when I first went to London. I was 18. I was living in like a hostel for young people that went there. It was massive unemployment in the 1980s. And I remember I was sharing a room in a really dodgy hotel with this much older man who gambled, and he would sometimes convince me to go with him to this little booking shop right next to Bethnal Green Underground. And I remember it being a very interesting, colourful. So we may have crossed paths back in the day.
I know the place you're talking about, actually.
Yeah, it was right next to there. And I remember he would win money, but then he would lose it all, and then he'd be trying to get my goal money at the time. And he was a decent guy, but he was lost in gambling, you know. Yeah.
It's a terrible illness.
It is. Any questions for Anthony? Anybody? Is there a way that we can get in contact with you ourselves, Anthony? If we've got,
yeah,
you want to ask me some questions.
You've got my Twitter thing there. You can always contact me via that, or you can send me a message, and I'll always, you know, Zoe's got my number. Zoe, we're in a couple of WhatsApp groups, as you know. Listen, if you want to talk to me, you know, providing I've got time and all that, I will always, you know, speak as honestly and openly as you're probably aware. I'm not as eloquent and as some of the other speakers, but you know, it doesn't matter. I'm always available.
No, I think you're putting yourself down there. I mean, you've been incredibly engaging to listen to, and you've gone into depth on some topics, and you've kept my attention. I've got a very slow attention span, and you kept my attention, and we've kept our kind of, and our kind of number of people in the space has stayed the same. It's gone up. No one's really dropped off. So you've been an amazing guest, Anthony.
Now, listen, I'll always be accessible to anybody who wants to know, and anybody who needs any information, or anybody that wants to join the calls, or, you know, as I said to you, my life is an open book, providing I've got the time. It is a bit of a busy life, and I'm getting older, and it's harder to manage. But you know, you will have access to me whenever you want.
You sound like Howard there is always going on about being an old age pensioner and being 70
Well,
years
I'm
old.
not a pensioner. I'm 57, but I've been through a lot over the last couple of years. That's all.
Howard's opening line, he's always, I'm just an old age pensioner. I shouldn't be doing this. And he's only 70, and it's like, bloody hell, you know?
I know.
Yeah.
And you know what? He looks bloody well, 70 and all.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I know he does. But I've got a lot of time for him as it happens. A lot of time for him.
Yeah. Zoe, Pete, any last words for Anthony, or should we just start closing the kind of space up? What's the?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that Howard actually has just released a questionnaire. If everybody could maybe find themselves 5 minutes to fill that in.
Howard.
On his Fair Fuel campaign. Yeah. Goes into a bit more depth than just the Fair Fuel, though, so that's good.
Yeah. Being a fan of V8, I want a good pro car policy from Advance. Okay, forget everything else.
The V8 burble. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I've got like a 10-year-old Volvo, and I can't drive it in Edinburgh city centre because of the low emissions. I can't even pay to drive it there, and it's crazy. It's a 10-year-old car. I can't drive it in a city centre, right? It's crazy, you know.
Well, that's what Howard's a lot of that sort of thing was on Howard's. It's talking about Fair Fuel, and it asks a few questions about taxation and government and all that. It's a great little thing to fill out, and And Zoe, you're quite right to highlight it.
That's what we want to do. We want to try and get these things out to as many members as possible in as many ways. We want to try and reach the people that aren't advanced supporters yet as well, because sometimes when the party will put like a podcast out or a space or a video, it's probably going to attract more the existing members. We want to try and do things that are going to reach a kind of wider audience as well. So we've got some kind of plans there. So yeah.
Well, listen, anything I can do to help, anything you need from me, if it's within my power, you can have. I think what you're doing is absolutely fantastic. And some of the people I've heard speak this evening, you know, there's a wealth of information, there's a mine of information, and I'm really infused by it, really am.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's got their little policy thing that they're particularly concerned with as well. There was the lady on earlier talking about FGM, and which was an issue that she was discussing. And there's all of these little issues out there that different people are interested in, that hopefully Advance will kind of cover at some point. Yeah. Zoe, Pete?
I've got one close, but if you want to say something there, Zoe.
I was just gonna recap what we've discussed, and just if anybody wants to chip in anything extra. But I've just got stop attacking reform. I need to take a leaf out of my own book there, because it can wind me up. But I did actually put out in the week to a couple of groups saying, I think it's time for me to wave the white flag and just stop doing it, because last week was not good for me. I got to the point of like, oh, this is too much.
Ignore reform. Ignore them. We will probably at some point we will be working alongside some of those people, I'm sure. But at some point, we just ignore them. Focus on what we're doing, because you can get dragged into that politics thing and who's winning, who's losing.
Oh, I do that as well. I turn off.
Then we did discuss CBDC, central bank digital currency, potential union legal action emails, anything that we could be doing about that. Simple problems, simple solutions. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Badges or high-vis printed for like community events, if we were to be able to get together and do some stuff. So maybe a printed high-vis or a badge. Then we discussed voter ID, register to vote, maybe just getting out in the community, maybe with that sort of message, maybe, advance on the back, voter ID and register to vote on the front, something like that. Big data and how do we use it was the other topic. And then we discussed a book club, film club, which I'm quite interested in.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, always looking for a good film now that I'm trying not to watch as much television and all the woke agenda. And then books. I'm currently reading Manifesto by Tommy and Peter McLaughlin. So lovely.
Yeah, I need to listen to books because I'm at the computer screen all day because I run a web design agency. So I need when I go long drives, I need books I can kind of listen to. I think so, but books that will educate about some of the issues we're talking about or give a different perspective. Yeah, and films, it's like we should start a film club. Great British films, there's so many fantastic British movies and films that even TV series you just don't see anymore, and it'd be great to kind of just this cultural renaissance thing. We talked about cultural renaissance, didn't we, and British cultural renaissance, and so that was another big topic. Yeah,
well, one that's very prevalent at the moment, looking around us today, what about A Clockwork Orange? Kick it off with that.
1984.
Yes.
I've not read
Orange. Yeah.
I want to know if that's any good, because once I've got through what I've got piled up. Brave New World. Anybody?
Is that Aldous Huxley?
Yeah.
I've read bits of it, but I never really got into it. But I understand it's quite good. But I listen, before I started to read professionally, I've read a lot, and then once I studied and read so much for work, it was like, it took the dairy off of reading, for pleasure, to be honest with you. And every now and then I dive into a book and I get stuck into it, but that maybe I should start doing that more.
Yeah, but there's other books. There's like even something like Cider for Rosie. There's a set of books of that vein which were written about this idyllic English kind of country life back in the day, and and they used to be my go-to place when I wanted just to escape the rat race when I was
Yeah.
living in the city, you know. Yeah. And yeah, so books, films, music. Oh, I brought up the whole idea of Elon Musk's first principle thinking and applying it to problems. And I think I'd just love to have Elon Musk in a space like this where we're just fishing the guy's brains for his ideas. How do you grow this party? How do you reach people? What's the kind of first principles that you're trying to boil everything down to, and how can we make these things work? So I want to kind of explore that a little bit more. I have used first principles in my business, but for my mind to think like that, I have to really get into gear and read about it all again, and it's not natural way of thinking. So it'd be great to sort of cover that in another space in more detail if we've got people who've got the right minds.
Well, you have to remember that Elon Musk also has a superpower. He's slightly neurodivergent, so
Yeah.
he can't. This is what I tell my two of my grandchildren are neurodivergent, and you know it's more than apparent that perhaps I don't need to know. Perhaps I well, it's obvious that I am, but you know, I tell my grandchildren that they've got a superpower that nobody else has got. You know, and it's the way that interpretation and analysation of things that, you know, some of it is actually a blessing, but it's turned out to be for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the more voices from people with completely different takes on things, or mental acuity, if that's a kind of a right word, okay, bringing to
That's
the
a
party.
good way of putting it. Yes.
Yeah, mental acuity, but just different ways of thinking. I think we're not taught how to. Obviously, at school, I was taught how to think, not what to think, and it's different now. But we're not actually taught how to actually think about problems and analyze things at all. And I think sometimes you can look at a problem and find ways around it. And I had a very tough life when I was young, and I always had to find the way around something to survive. And it's taught me to always look around the corners and find little gaps and little holes to exploit, really. So that's what one thing I'm trying to bring to these spaces is just push the thought out there, so we find these little rat holes and rabbit runs that where there's little spaces to exploit, really, all for good, though, you know. So yeah,
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And you're doing a good job at it.
Well, thank you, and obviously it's mainly due to everyone who joins in and comes up and speaks, and obviously my two partners here that are working alongside each other, you know, Pete and Zoe, you know, yeah.
You're all doing magnificent work.
Pete, final words. Zoe, final words.
Final words, as always. So the biggest thanks goes out to the people that made the effort to come and join us. You know, every level of support is appreciated. The big key thing is do share it. Obviously, it will play as recording at the end. As always, because there's unreachable people, I will take the file and spend another 26 hours editing it to put on my YouTube channel, Historic Hospitality. Do try and share it around so it gets seen by others. But don't forget, no idea is stupid. No question is stupid. Everything has value. So if anybody thinks there's something minimal they want to ask or want to suggest, jump on as a speaker, because it's those little supports that can make the biggest difference. Because we want ideas that move, not just the little sparks and the big fires. We want those embers, anything that could be a benefit, because we don't want to chase vague notions. We want to actually create something that builds and create something real. And I think we're doing very well so far. And we have a good core of people. Matt sends his apologies. He needed to go to bed. So he left.
Matt, lost all respect in you, mate. I'm sorry, right? Okay.
Oh.
You've not got the stamina, right?
Poor bloke. Poor bloke. He had to go to bed. I'm up at 6 as well. But, you know, it's one of those things that hopefully we just see the improvements enough to keep everyone interested and keep the morale high, because I still firmly believe we will not fall.
Yeah, shall we end it there, guys?
Well said. Yep. Perfect.
Yep.
Excellent.
Anthony, everybody else who spoke, Sasha, I can see still here, see you here. Darren, Sarah, that was great, and I'll just put some music on to play us out. I don't know how it sounds over my awful speakers here, but see you guys next Wednesday for another space.
Thank you. Goodbye.
See you guys. Thanks. Bye.
across the galaxy. Heard only my echoes of the dawn of man. Hitchhiker, hitchhiker, float on, float on. You're right to run, chasing.